Hey everyone, what a beautiful day here on the southern coast of Türkiye and the city of Antalya, one of the most visited places on Earth. And as far as tourism goes, today the best cliff divers in the world will be launching from heights of 27 meters, 90 feet for the men, 21 meters, 70 feet for the women, Joey. And look at this spectacular location. Weather is perfect for diving today as we return to this spectacular location after 15 years. First place took in 2009.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. 15 years ago, so it's definitely an ideal location for the athletes. Nice and warm, so 30 degrees air temperature, 26 degrees water temperature, around 8 meters of water depth. And look, but the other thing to point out, the athletes, some of them are coming off the back of the High Diving World Cup in Bahrain. The temperatures there soared up to 46 degrees Celsius. That's 115 degrees Fahrenheit. So they're definitely feeling the fatigue of the heat from that location. And of course, that was just last weekend. So the body's feeling it, right? It's better to have that rhythm when you've had a couple of weeks off, you've had some time to rest and then get back into it. So it's going to be an interesting competition getting towards the end of the season, but it is a beautiful spot. We're back to the cliffs.
Yeah, and I'll bet after a lot of fatigue coming in, many events leading into here in Antalya, Türkiye, Joey, and with this weather, you mentioned it's hot outside, like in Bahrain and stuff like that, but you come back here, 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit is the air temperature, perfect for the divers and the spectators, of course. Water temp, 26 degrees, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. And, the weather absolutely perfect. No excuses for these divers. All right, Michael Frost is joining us. Frosty here in a little bit, but he's on the platform. We'll get to him momentarily. And, Joey, you see the spectacular Mediterranean Sea out there. What a view, and it is nice to be back. Were you here in 2009 for that event?
Yeah, I was actually, and it was a groundbreaking competition, particularly with the likes of Gary Hunt busting out the first back triple quad as well. So that was definitely one of those tipping point moments in the history of the cliff diving series. I mean, that kind of dive that he did was basically, no one was thinking of it. Not even in the diving scene. And all of a sudden he came in and did this dive and everyone's like, he did what? Because I just missed a little bit of the practice, and then everyone's like, hey, Gary just did a back triple quad. And I'm like, no way. I can't believe this. But anyway, then we saw him compete at the competition, and this was just, like I said before, he was way ahead of his time, in all honesty.
Beautiful shot of the cliffs of Antalya. I briefly mentioned Michael Frost. He's with us now. Frosty, what's going on? Are you on the platform?
Hey, Trace. Yeah, I'm here on the platform. This is the women's platform where we're going to be kicking off round 2 very shortly. This is a gorgeous day here. Sun's beating down. You can see paddle boarders have lined up at the very edge of sort of the viewing area. And the taste of how packed these beaches are going to be on the final day. But yeah, the energy is just booming here. The sports director, Türkiye, is just making final touches. Everything is perfect. I can tell you the divers are excited. The energy is bumping here. The music is so loud I can't even hear myself. It is just a party up here. But yeah, people are having a lot of fun. Divers are excited. Audience is excited. And we tell you, so am I.
All right, just a big party out there. Welcome to Red Bull Cliff Diving.
Yeah, man. It's on the screen here, you can see a few of those little lower platforms there for the athletes to dive off. But a great little natural amphitheater, right? So there's all these nooks and crannies, these little kind of lookouts, I would call them, that you can actually look at the cliff diving from.
Yeah.
It's also great for the locals here. I mean, really close to the town, near the beach, and that's the way to do it. Get up close and personal, grab yourself a paddleboard. I love the umbrella there, that's fantastic. Bring the kids, that's what you want to do.
And there, remember, we're going to check out rounds 2 and 3, YouTube Live, TikTok, all the great stuff. But if you're new to Red Bull Cliff Diving, here's how it all works and the scoring for 2024.
Each Red Bull Cliff Diving event features 8 permanent and 4 wildcard divers per gender. There are 4 rounds of diving, with varying levels of difficulty. The panel of 5 judges has less than 3 seconds to evaluate the parts of each dive. The judges then award scores from 0 to 10. The highest and lowest scores are eliminated, and the remaining 3 added together. This total, multiplied by the degree of difficulty, gives the dive score. And all 4 dives are added together for the event score. Finally, series points are awarded at every event, with a bonus point for the best dive of the competition. At the end of the series, the divers with the highest series points are awarded the King Kahikili Trophy.
The King Kahikili Trophy. We're going to talk a lot about that on the women's side. Rhiannan Iffland is looking to secure her 8th King Kahikili Trophy of her incredible career. She could do it here in Antalya, Turkey this weekend. Yeah. Remember, the final round is tomorrow, and you can watch that live on Red Bull TV. But Joey, on the men's side, it's a much different contrast. 3 men battling it out for the King Kahikili Trophy. We'll see the women first, followed by the men, and then we'll go back into the women's 4th round. There's Rhiannan Iffland right there, the GOAT, greatest of all time in women's Red Bull cliff diving, with 7 King Kahikili trophies on the mantle, getting warmed up there by her platform. And I'll tell you what, she has had a long year. We talk about all of the physicalities that these guys have gone up against, and Rhiannan Iffland still hanging in there strong and diving well.
Absolutely. And because she's such a great athlete, 9 times out of 10 she has a really good landing, and that definitely helps the load on the body. Let's say if you have a few hard landings, landing short of vertical, over rotating, that takes its toll on the body. So she's such a good athlete, so skillful and so talented, that it does help her get through the season as she cuts through the water. But it would be great if she could. Well, that's what she wants to do right here. So if she does win here in Antalya, that's it. The series is in the bag, and she would like to do that coming into that last stop, which is in her home territory in Sydney, of course. One
of the 3 men, you're looking at James Lichtenstein right there, in contention for the King Kahikili Trophy. The American now sitting in 2nd in the overall World Series points. Just a reminder, folks, you're watching YouTube Live. Joey and I have the chat room pulled up live on our screens right here. So weigh in and give us a few questions. If we can't answer it, the team at Red Bull Cliff Diving will do their best to answer your questions as well. But we will check out women's round 2, followed by men's round 2, then women's round 3, followed by the men's round 3. Now, round 1 took place yesterday, Joey, directly from the cliff face, and it was very interesting how those results unfolded and really, did a number on some of the newcomers in the sport.
Exactly. So I think Kaylee Arnett did struggle a little bit with her first ever off the cliff dive, and the challenge when you're diving off the cliff is that most often you have to lean quite far forward to clear the cliff face, and sometimes there's also like a rock ledge underneath the water, so that changes the dynamics of the dive. And if you're not used to that, basically what happens is when you try to push out, or when you do push out a long way forward, it tends to slow it down. Oh, there's the boys, Aiden Heslop.
Right there, right on the bottom of your screen, there's Aiden Heslop.
A little bit too relaxed, I say.
The Brit leads now in the World Series points coming into Antalya, Turkey. This stop, there's only 1 stop left after this. The finals in Sydney, Australia. You're looking at David Kulturi above him, warming up.
Visualizing his dive.
Fired up. Kulturi just got the invite a few days ago.
Yep.
I mean, so right here. Now, here we go with the women's start list. We'll kick it off with the American Kaylee Arnett. We'll run on down through the women. Now, it is 12 women, and again, followed by 12 men for their 2nd round dive. So what stands out, Joey, in this first round? Kaylee Arnett, who's placed in the top 3 every time she's competed on a Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, which is only 3 stops, now is diving first, which means she had the lowest score coming into this final round.
Yeah, and like we said before, that's the first time she's ever actually done an off the cliff dive, so we have to give her some credit for that. But actually, she dove really well in Bahrain at the World Aquatics High Diving World Cup, hitting the podium again. So, but this is quite a lot of territory to make up for with that 20 points behind.
I said coming into this final round, coming into the 2nd round, and all 4 rounds count. So you look at that start list, you look where the women are placed. It is not over until the 4th and final round is completed, and that'll be tomorrow. Molly Carlson sits number 2 on the World Series points. She's trying to push the King Kahikili Trophy against Rhiannan Iffland, trying to push that battle to Sydney, Australia, the final stop. She can do that today, but Rhiannon's going to have to, she's going to have a win here.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's going to have to stay ahead of Rhiannan Iffland after today's competition in order to do that.
Yeah, and if Rhi stays ahead of Molly, basically in the top 3 positions there, then it's in the bag for Rhiannan Iffland. So Molly Carlson definitely needs a great performance here, but you've got to take it dive by dive. Speaking of divers, there's our safety divers in the water. Beautiful, transparent water here. And that is a really interesting point to bring up. When it's very transparent like that, it's not easy to actually see the surface of the water, so it's very important the safety divers splash the surface. Also, they have that permanent water spray there, and that will help them see the surface of the water. It won't make it any softer, not from those heights. Once again, a reminder, so the women we're watching here today, 21 meters.
There
Gary
he is.
Hunt at the OG.
Gary Hunt coming back. He's taken some time off this year. He competed in Paris in the 10-meter men's synchro competition, placing 8th there. We'll see him in the men's competition shortly in his 100th stop. Unbelievable on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. We'll get to him momentarily, but first we will kick it off with the first of 12 women in this second round. It is Kaylee Arnett of the United States, the 31-year-old who has some work to do. Now, we were told that yesterday off the cliffs was the first time that she has actually dove directly off the cliffs. This is only her 4th start on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, so just getting some experience.
She's had 4 competitions, 4 podiums.
There you go.
3,
so kick things off for Kaylee Arnett from the United States. Joey, sorry. And that platform, once again, reminder, 21 meters, 70 feet. That's high off the water.
It is. And it's super scary. Totally different perspective, totally different feeling when you're the one standing on the platform. It's easy for us to sit here and commentate on these dives. But this is an intermediate round, right? So there's a fixed degree of difficulty at 3.4 as long as your dive reaches that 3.4. So she's a little bit under that with this particular dive at 3.0. Coming in for the landing there, just a slight over rotation. And it's crazy how just the smallest little angle off vertical could kick up some splash. But Kaylee looks like she's enjoying the experience here in Antalya, Türkiye.
Reminder of the judging. 5 judges score between 1 and 10 each. The high and low are tossed. The remaining 3 are multiplied by the degree of difficulty, and that's the grand total. So we'll see those scores being thrown up by the judges. I love the old school cards being chucked up there, Joey. The judges in the boat trying to maintain their balance is Kaylee Arnett. We'll focus on round number 3. Comes in with 2 7s and a 7.5 is what she'll keep. So you see in yellow, 64.50. That's the score for that particular dive. So she's in first with a 99.60 to set the tone in the women's second round. Once again, weigh in if you want. Ask us whatever questions that you have. And the YouTube chat room, welcome all the TikTok viewers as well as we look at our next diver. Nelly Chukanivska, only 17 years old, of Ukraine. We talk about wildcard divers, Joey. It's those who don't have a full-time permanent spot on the series, so just coming in, getting an opportunity, maybe 1 event, 2 events, 3 events. Maybe you're Kaylee Arnett, who smoked it the first time she came onto the platform, and now she got invited to everything. But that's what Nelly Chukanivska is trying to do, is earn more spots in future events and Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series competitions.
Well, she's definitely impressing me. I think she's just handled herself so well. You know, we have to remind everyone she's just 17 years of age, and handling those heights and managing the pressure of the competition. A lot of sun glare coming off the water. Sometimes that can bother the athletes. It's really glary.
You can really get a good perspective of that height. So Nelly dropping in again from 21 meters, 70 feet off the Mediterranean Sea. Really nice entry on this one. I like it.
Yeah, she's got style too, right? A lot of work on the entries, and you can see her just plummeting down there and slicing through the water, traveling down to around about 4 meters of water depth. And we do get some common questions, and one of them is, why feet first? Well, it's very, very high. Yeah? So 21 meters. You have to remind everybody, in the discipline of diving, 10-meter diving, they're landing head first. And even from 10 meters going head first, the athletes really have a lot of issues with their wrists, their shoulders. Some of them even have to retire from 10-meter diving and transfer back down to 3 meters. So the legs have that big muscle group that can withstand that impact from 71 kilometers per hour.
So we'll get a 62 on that one. That's what the yellow is that particular dive, round 2. 111.40 when you add the first and second rounds together. Once again, 4 rounds in total for all the divers, and all 4 rounds count. Today, rounds 2 and 3. Round 1 took place yesterday. Round 4 will get underway tomorrow. Jeannie van Katwijk, the Netherlands, 39 years old. Very consistent season. Currently 4th in the overall World Series points. What's she doing there, Joey? Just directing the safety divers?
Yep, directing the traffic, as we say. She's using her chamois to dry herself off. So particularly when you're doing these harder dives, it's interesting. She's doing quite a difficult dive for the intermediate round. The degree of difficulty of this dive is higher than 3.4, so she only gets capped at 3.4. So it's interesting, some of the athletes like to do more difficult dives. You feel more busy in the air, right? Sometimes the simple dives, you can overdo it, right? There's too much time to think in the air, so it's better to get busy and get it down and get it done. Grip tape surface on the end of the platform. Look at their feet half on, half off. You need that ankle movement to get that elevation from the platform.
All right, so Jeannie van Katwijk coming in, maybe not to her usual standards there on that entry, Joey. And talk a lot about splashes and how that can impact the score, but more or less coming in a little bit short there, huh?
Yeah. So, of course, we see the splash. Everyone thinks, okay, deductions for the splash. In a way, technically, the judges look at the takeoff, they look at the flight. The last thing they see is the angle, right? And the ideal angle, of course, is to be as vertical as possible. So she was short of that angle. She didn't quite make that vertical position. So diving terminology is, yeah, she came up short, right? Yeah. Short of vertical. Didn't quite make the dive. This is a back triple full, so bending there, reaching the arms up, coming into the pike position, just a little bit open. So the judges like to see it when the legs are closer to the torso as well. That helps pick up the scores from the judges. As we were saying before, it's been a tough season, man. We're getting towards the end now, and man, the athletes mentally and physically are really starting to feel it now.
Yeah. Jeannie van Katwijk, 39 years old. Master's degree in sociology and criminology, 56 on that. So low scores, 106.80 puts her in second behind Chikanivska of Ukraine. So Jeannie is third to go, 12. Rhiannan Iffland will dive last. She has the top score after the first round. It goes in reverse order. Maria Paula Quintero having a really consistent season. Currently number 6 in the World Series points. Actually tied with Simone Leadhead. Great position, 4th place in Ballycastle, Northern Ireland stop. It's the best result she's had in 15 stops since 2021. Again, hoping to earn that permanent diver spot for next season. 4 from the World Series points, Joey. 4 additional, 8 in total from other events that come into consideration. So there you have it. Nice entry by Maria Paula Quintero of Colombia. 24 years old, been on the series quite a long time. In fact, since her podium finish when she was 18 years old on the series.
And I actually was thinking about that the other day as well. So she actually started diving the cliff diving series at 17 years of age. Only 24, but it feels like she's been on the series forever. And definitely a groundbreaking athlete, Maria Paula Quintero, the first woman in the world to perform a front quad somersault. And that was back in Polignano 2018. Very impressive, very brave athlete. Very hard working as well. She's been playing with different dives, so she's doing a back double somersault with 2 twists here. In Montreal, she decided to do something different, did a reverse double, and now she's back to this particular dive, something she feels quite comfortable with. And Trace, these dives are really hard to control the rotation. So these intermediate dives, when you're only performing 2 somersaults, really easy to do 2 things. Overcook it, undercook it, right? You don't want too much gas, too much rotation, because you're going to land over your dive. So you need that fine touch on the takeoff.
Absolutely. So Maria Paula Quintero of Colombia awaits her score. She got a 73 on that, popping up quick, and she will get a grand total of 123.80 when you add that 73 to her first round dive. So Maria Paula Quintero, 123.80, put her in first. She's 4 to go of 12. Once again, one of the original locations from 2009 on a beautiful day here in Antalya, Türkiye, the southern coast. About 700 kilometers south of Istanbul, about an hour-and-a-half flight. As we look at the strong diver from Italy, Elisa Cassetti, 22 years old, and her 12th start in the World Series. Landed on the podium this year, that 3rd place in Oslo, that was big. Showed her potential, but look at that glare of the sun. Joey, must be challenging from a diver's perspective. You mentioned it earlier. How come? Just from visuals, it's like shines and you can't see the water as well?
Exactly. It can kind of blind you sometimes. So, and the sun will change direction, and some of the athletes will come up saying, man, I just couldn't see the surface, right? It's just sort of glaring at you and like, where is it? Is it there? And sometimes you can miss the landing because of the sun glare.
Cassetti, beautiful in the air, a bit of a splash on that landing. It's that clear blue turquoise water she's dropping into. Again, it's Cassetti, 22 years old. Round number 2 of the women. That's what we're in the middle of right now. Round number 2 for the men will take place next. Then round 3 for both the women and the men following that.
And speaking of visuals and sun glare, I mean, every single location in the cliff diving series has its own challenges. I mean, sometimes, for example, the men will be diving and they've got the women's platform underneath and they get spooked out. They'll come out of the middle like, whoa, I just saw the platform there. And then sometimes the cliff face is closer to the landing point as well. So every single location has its own challenges. Sometimes you've got that sort of brown cliff face and very brown murky water, so you can't figure out the differential between the cliff face and the water.
You know, I love it you said that, Joey. I mean, we talk about that all the time. You have the controlled environment of typical, you know, Olympic diving, right?
Yeah.
Usually in an auditorium with a pool, very controlled, climate, water, calm, everything. The platform is exactly where it should be. You're not diving off rocks. There's nothing around you. There's no wind. So that's what Red Bull cliff diving is all about, and so unique. Some of these new divers coming in, just like Elisa Cassetti and Kaylee Arnett, they find those challenges as they go along the series.
And this is definitely a sport where you need to be adaptable, right? You've got to be able to handle high winds, cold temperatures, hot temperatures, different visuals.
Yeah.
And you see someone like Rhiannan Iffland, that's why she's so great, is that she can handle all of those difficult conditions and handle the pressure of the competition, right? Yeah. She's just brilliant.
And then you have, you know, just being scared on top of these platforms. And Elisa, Mayla Carpenter of the United States, you know, she rock climbs, right? We talked to her about it. She grew up in Boulder, Colorado, so she's rock climbing. She told you and I, she's like, you know, going up to the top of this platform is not a big deal, especially in the rock cliffs.
I mean, we've seen some gnarly cliff locations, right? I mean, it was Beirut, Lebanon, where we had to abseil. It was like a zip line across. In Thailand, they had to prussic. I don't know if you know what prussicking is, but it's basically this line that went into the water. So it's like a climbing line. And they're literally climbing up a single rope up into position.
Here in Northern Ireland.
There's been some pretty wild locations. Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland was nuts.
I mean, abseiling down around 12 meters for the women. That was wild.
Haley Carpenter, second round dive for the American. Putting one in. Love that right there. Safety divers go down with her to make sure everything is safe and sound. I love that.
Yeah, it's a great shot. You can really see that impact there. So she went pretty deep, which is usually a good sign that the entry was good. And if you're over-rotating or under-rotating, you don't go very deep.
I was going to say, if you're new to this sport, you're always wondering what can happen, right?
Yeah.
What has happened from your experience, Joey? You have a million stories. You and I have known each other a long time.
I have to say I've seen it all.
You've seen it all.
Literally speaking.
Let's just say it's a really good idea to have those safety divers in place, just in case.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like any sport, right? I mean, rugby, cycling, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You know, downhill mountain biking, you've got to have your safety crews in there just in case something doesn't go to plan. The biggest fear for athletes, everyone thinks, oh, they've got no fear, but they do. The number one fear for the athletes is losing their orientation in the air.
Yeah.
And it can happen. All of a sudden, you come out of the middle of the twist, you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And you're scrambling, right? Trying to find the water, flailing your arms around. And that actually is a really important point, and that's what Aiden Heslop and Gary Hunt did a lot, was playing on the 3-meter springboard, purposely getting lost in the air and finding their feet. So the art of play is really important as a bailout scenario in cliff diving.
Good point, Joey. And Maylee Carpenter from the United States comes in with 119.70. Again, that's her first round dive and her second round dive added together. She'll have 2 more, 1 today and then 1 tomorrow. Once again, weigh in on the YouTube chat room. Welcoming all the viewers, Trace Worthington next to Joey Zuber. He's a sport expert, former Red Bull cliff diver. Here's somebody who's very new to the sport, in fact, making her Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series debut. Zita Bernatsky, 17 years old. Wow, some of the ages getting younger and younger by the year, Joey, as we've done this. So Bernatsky making her debut. The growing list of Canadian divers. How about that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
They have a strong field of athletes. Coach Dallas, I was just having a chat to her and just talking about her off the cliff round, and I think she was feeling quite calm before it. And then when she actually got there, she was like, uh-oh, this is not so easy. You got to scramble, right? It's a pretty jagged sort of rocks, but she did a really good job, managed it well. But this new guard, man, we've got so many new athletes coming up the ladder. It's just amazing.
Well, the youngsters usually are in those dive locations that we talked about that are a little bit more controlled to really learn the dives and the difficulty, right? And the form. And then you place them out into the wild.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like, you got your little tiger cub, right? You're like,
Yeah,
okay,
you're
here
out.
you go. You're in the wild now. Go and find your catch. Here we go.
Oh, wow. Spectacular in the air, Joey. And again, looking from an outside viewer's perspective, the arms kind of went above the head, which wasn't like the other divers.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll explain it in more detail shortly, but basically, here are the rules. When you hit the water, your arms need to be below the navel, right? Or in line with the body. If your arms come above your head, watch here closely. We'll just see here, right at the end, arms up. So if the arms go above the head, what is the penalty? The penalty is a maximum score of 4.5. What does that mean and what does that demonstrate? It demonstrates that she's feeling like she's rotating too quickly and slightly out of control, let's say. And actually, we work with our athletes on this. When you're in these scenarios, when you are feeling fast, there are some drills that you can do. So you need to actually practice rotating a bit too quickly at the end of the dive, getting your arms up earlier and bringing them back down again. But this is part of the learning curve and part of the experience for the newcomers in the field.
Exactly. She'll take a lot of experience out of this. She's got the right crew. I mentioned her coach Dallas doing a great job, but she will take this, focus on her 3rd round dive. And Taro still leads the way in this women's competition with a 1:23.80. Zita Bernatsky was 7 to go of 12. Beautiful shot of the platforms. The men's is the highest platform at 27 meters, 90 feet, folks. And the women's, 21 meters, 70 feet off the water. As we look at the incredible Molly Carlson stepping out onto the platform. She just turned 26.
She turned 26 on the day that she won the competition,
Yeah.
World Aquatics event in Bahrain, actually. So that was a great little birthday present for her.
2nd overall in the World Series points. Like we said, she's just trying to keep things alive in contention for the King Kyle Keeley Trophy. Rhiannan Iffland once again having a hot season. Molly Carlson's only 4th season in cliff diving, doing a wonderful job. Winning 2 stops this season, including that Montreal stop.
Got messages pouring in on the YouTube channel. Go Molly, go Molly. Got plenty of fans out there.
The Brave gang rolling in hot. There you have it. Molly Carlson putting one down for her 2nd round dive. She needs some good scores on this one, Joey, because she's running 8 of 12. She's usually down towards the bottom of, or top of, in this case, the running order, running like maybe in the top 3. So
but quite often you actually see that after round 1. You'll see people like in 5th or 6th or 7th. Doesn't always mean too much. You know, it's only 5 points, 10 points. But where the ground is made up is in the optional dive rounds. Okay, so after this round, then we'll start to see the more difficult dives, right? They increase the number of somersaults and twists, higher degree of difficulty, and that's when you start to see the leaderboard shake up a bit. Okay. Looking at the entry here for Molly Carlson, just slightly hunched, a little bit of a kaploof, I'll call it, on the entry. I mean, not a bad...
What'd you call it?
Ploofy. I mean, look, not a bad dive at all.
I've never heard you use that one before.
Ploof. Yeah, a little mushroom splash, as we call it. Yeah, a little low fluff. But... look, what do the judges think? That's what we need to see. Not a bad score, not a great score, right? We expect she needs 8s and 9s.
Yeah, well, 133.70 will be the roll-up of the 1st and 2nd round added together. So 133.70 for the strong Canadian diver Molly Carlson. And now we'll set the tone and pace for the top 5 women to follow. We'll check out Simone Leadhead, her teammate. Ellie Smart after that. Xanthia Panizzi makes her way back into the scene after taking a little break. So she's doing a great job. And she will dive right before the great Rhiannan Iffland. And then we'll get into the men's 2nd round competition. Simone Leadhead, our new permanent diver, hasn't had the best results in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series in the past several events, including the one in Montreal in her home city, Joey, but she did really well at the World Cup in Bahrain.
Yeah, placing 2nd there as well. Have a good chat to her coach, Steph, and he did say she found it difficult with a new competition format this year, so every single day, the first day of training is actually the first day of competition. You have to do that round 1 dive, and in this case it was the off the cliff round. So the training regime and the competition schedule, let's kind of say, it's definitely different from last year, and it wasn't easy for some of the athletes.
There you go. Wow, excellent entry by Simone Leadhead, 21-year-old Canadian, fresh from that podium in Bahrain at the World Cup. Gained some confidence there, obviously. So that'll do well for her. 4 rounds of diving, all 4 are added together. All counts.
Yeah.
And that, in Red Bull cliff diving, is called consistency in order to land on top of the podium.
Simone Leadhead diving really well. We saw Molly Carlson cheering on Simone, so there's a great camaraderie amongst the athletes and a good team environment with the Canadians, very supportive of one another. I'll tell you what I like about Simone Leadhead. She's got style on the takeoff, great form in the air, and a really good entry. Not a perfect rip entry, but a very, very good dive.
Taking some of that traditional diving skill that she's learned as a youngster, applying it to cliff diving, 81.60. So 141.40. So Leadhead will now pull into the top spot, which is good. Got to get those strong points going into the 3rd round of competition. People weighing in on the YouTube chat room. I'm looking at it all right now. Looks like the question was answered. People are wondering if Gary Hunt is back. He is.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing Gary in his 100th stop, if you didn't know, of his career. He's the only athlete diver that competed here in 2009. and now today.
It's amazing, 100 stops. But
Yeah.
he stopped at 98 stops, but he didn't actually get to do it consecutively. So he never missed a single competition. 98 events, no misses whatsoever. I've seen him on death's door, very ill, very badly injured, but he always muscled through. True champion. But let's get back to the focus for this athlete on the platform.
Ellie Smart, and she really did. So that's a live heartbeat right there. 65. It's pretty low.
And that's normally up around about 165. Maybe she didn't have her coffee. I don't know.
We'll check with her. The EMTs might be checking with her in a little bit. But anyway, Ellie Smart needs a great competition. She's behind in points in terms of what she expects out of herself, and especially to earn that permanent diver spot for 2025. And that'll help her in the points right there. Great second round dive for the 28-year-old American.
Ellie Smart, definitely a busy woman, always running around the world, hosting different kinds of events, different athlete projects. But I really like that she's mixing it up. So every single athlete performs dives that they feel comfortable doing. She likes the twisting dives. I love watching twisting dives. And don't get me wrong, I like seeing those back quint somersaults and back quad somersaults as well. But every single athlete has their own style, their own flair. So some athletes like rotating in towards the platform. Some like going forward, some like back, some like twisting. Sergio Guzman, for example, from Mexico, doesn't like twisting at all. He just sticks to those rotating dives.
7, 6.5. So she'll drop 1.7 and 1.6.5. Keep some solid scores. We'll see what it rolls up to. So Smart, pretty low scores on that actually. When you look at that 68 and you add that together with the first round, 129.10 puts her into third.
Just got a few questions coming in by Carrie. I mean, how much is the difficulty for this particular round? Well, this is fixed, right? So it's 3.4 for the intermediate round. So if your dive is a 3.4 or a 3.5 DD, degree of difficulty, you get 3.4. If your dive is under, for example, Kaylee Arnett had a dive that was back 2 somersaults, 1 twist, DD 3.0, you only get 3.0. So you have to match it or go above it. So it's fixed, it's capped at 3.4. But then the next round, round 3, unlimited, right?
Yeah.
You can just do whatever you want to do. If you can do front 4 somersaults with half twist, go for it, do it. Higher DD, but higher risk. So 3.4 for Xanthi Panisi, and she's doing an arm stand here. So she's really mixing it up, right? She had those mental blocks, and she's come back and in Bahrain did a new dive and then took on a very difficult dive that she's only done a few times, and now she's doing an arm stand dive, something new as well.
It's that background in gymnastics. You combine that with diving, that contributes to a dive like that. A little bit of a splash for Xanthi Panisi, 25-year-old from Brisbane, Australia. Put one down. Beautiful turquoise waters here on the southern coastline of Türkiye. Antalya, fourth most visited spot in terms of tourism. Just surpassed Paris and New York City. Lots of folks down here enjoying the beautiful weather, including the world's best cliff divers.
Speaking of enjoying, it really looks like Xanthi's got back to enjoying the sport again. It was obviously a very challenging circumstance in Oslo where she was getting blocked and she actually had to walk off the platform in the competition. She came home, and I was talking to her coaches and said, okay, back to the basics, right? Back to the building blocks. Keep it simple, go back, identify the dives that weren't working, and try something else, and it seems to be working. A little over rotation, but she's back on the platform and diving.
People are asking about the judging again, just those who tuned in. So she'll keep 3 out of the 5 scores. The high and the lower toss, the remaining 3 are multiplied by the degree of difficulty. So she gets a 66.3 on that. That's what's in yellow. You add that together with her first round score. So Panisi with a 132.60. And Joey, perhaps you could explain more on what exactly the judges want to see.
Yeah.
Right?
So with the judging, let's also bust this myth. Some people actually think the judges are judging the difficulty of the dive. That's not the case, right? So you've got to look at the takeoff. They want to see a takeoff that's really powerful, right? Nice and high. And the distance from the platform is important as well. You don't want to be too close, right? Because that's dangerous. You don't want to be too far away from the platform because that alters the mechanics of the dive. So it's not good for the athlete and not good for the judging. Flight in the air, nice and tidy, legs together, and of course the entry. But here's a woman who knows how to have a great entry, and that's Rhiannan Iffland.
Rhiannan Iffland, Joey, tell us why she is the greatest of all time and has been able to win 39 events. We'll watch her dive, but break down what makes her different from the rest of the divers and what makes her different and special to the judges panel. So there you go. Well, you can see right there just the entry by the naked eye. Beautiful entry by the greatest, Rhiannan Iffland.
I mean, in my opinion, Rhiannan Iffland is a once-in-a-century type of athlete. But why is she so good? Okay, there's a few reasons. Well, not a few, but quite a few. Number one, she came from a trampolining background, but got into the high-performance program with trampolining. So she's accustomed to landing feet first, great acrobatics, and then she went into high-performance diving. So A, she's got the technical background in great acrobatic sports, and then C, she's just a talented athlete. She's a natural. And you should see her surfing, right? So whatever sport she would do, she'd be great at. Just has a natural fluidity and an understanding of the water. And I would dare say, not even dare say, I know that she has the most consistent entries out of any athlete, men or women.
I mean, let's just say,
right?
Talk about different sports, Joey. And, when somebody's a baseball player, a football player, soccer player, they're not one-dimensional, right?
No.
That's like what she has experienced so many different sports, and that has contributed to her success in diving.
And another thing is that mental capacity to handle pressure. And great scores by the judges.
Look at that. Bunch of 9s up there, 4 of them, in fact. So she'll drop an 8.5 and 1 9. So Rhiannan Iffland will easily pull into the top spot and pad her lead. And that's what she wants to do at this point, is pad that lead to have more flexibility going into the 3rd and 4th round dive. So 163.30, that is massive. In fact, 22 points ahead of Leadhead. So Rhiannan Iffland, 163.30. That's what she'll take into the 3rd round, followed by Simone Leadhead and Molly Carlson. The Canadians diving very strong, but once again, it is a 4-round competition. Anything can happen, Mr. Zuber.
Absolutely. So that's what Rhiannan Iffland needs. Nice, confident lead. She had a few troubles in the competition in Bahrain, went arms up, so she missed the podium there, but looks like she's back strong again. We know that mentally she's a very strong athlete.
All right. Well, talk about Michael Frost. Frosty is hanging around for us, but right now he's with the Aussie Xanthia Panizzi. Frosty, take it away.
Okay, Xanthia, another amazing dive. You had 2 great rounds. But first, we want to ask you, you took a little break from competition. How'd you get yourself back up and ready to go for what's already been an awesome stop for you?
Yeah, it was such a hard decision to not finish the comp in Oslo and not come to Montreal, but I really needed to do it for my brain. I was really struggling with one dive. I had a mental block and I couldn't actually get myself off, so I took some time to learn some new dives, and I'm really glad I did because I'm feeling so much more confident in myself, and I had so much help back at home with my coaches and my family and my psychologist, so I'm really happy. And then I learned some new dives. This was a new dive as well, and then I've got a new dive coming tomorrow as well, so feeling really good.
Amazing. Yes, we saw this new arm stand dive. It's really impressive stuff. How do you get yourself into a position to try something for the first time like that in competition?
Yeah, it's really hard when we're only have a 10-meter pool back at home, but I've been visualizing a lot, and I just had to try it here, and I tried it yesterday, and then I had to compete it today. So that's the part of the sport. It's fun, but it's really scary as well, but that's cliff diving.
Well, amazing job so far. Obviously, all that hard work is paying off. You had 2 really great rounds. Anything more exciting we can expect from you in the next one?
I've got a big dive coming up. This is one of my new dives from the start of the year, which I actually took a step back, and then I brought it back for this comp. So I've got some big dives coming the next 2 days, and I'm just really proud of myself.
Amazing stuff so far. Can't wait to see the next round. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Frosty. Good stuff. Joey, what'd you see there?
Well, it's interesting talking about fear, and so you actually have to get comfortable with being scared. right? You have to go, it's all right to be scared. That's normal. There's nothing wrong with that, you know, because quite often you're getting on the platform, or before you get on the platform, I should say, and you think, oh, what if this happens? You might have a little flash in your mind, a visualization of a bit of a bad landing. You kind of have to go, look, that's normal. My body's and my brain's trying to protect me. So you have to get comfortable with being, you know, fearful. But the most important thing to do to combat fear is to prepare. There is no substitute for hard work. And Zanti Panisi is hardworking. She went back, recalibrated, did the right thing, reassessed the whole situation.
Men's round 2 start list. Kıvanç Gür makes his debut. The Turkish diver will kick things off. Kulturi after him. The great Gary Hunt. People are asking about him in our live YouTube chat room here. You're going to see Gary Hunt in his 100th start on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. The battle between Popovic, Liechtenstein, and Heslop continues. We'll see them there in the top 6. A beautiful day. Stop number 7 of 8, Antalya, Türkiye, the southern coast, 700 kilometers south of Istanbul. Antalya Cliffs, located between the Lara and Konyaaltı beaches. Kıvanç Gür, 23-year-old, and David Kulturi from the United States, the experienced one, will dive after him. If you just joined us, Trace Worthington, Joey Zuber, thanks for hanging with us. Women's round 1 took place yesterday, round 2, just a moments ago. This is the men's round 2. Then we'll reboot things. We're live from Antalya, Turkey for round 3 of the women and round 3 of the men. Round 4 is tomorrow, 1500 CEST, Central European Time, 6 a.m. Pacific Time in the United States. Live on Red Bull TV, Facebook, Red Bull Cliff Diving YouTube channel, TikTok, all the major platforms. Looking forward to the 4th and final round tomorrow. We could see Rhiannan Iffland wrap up her 8th King Kakili Trophy. But right now, it's all about the men's 2nd round, making his debut. Kıvanç Gür, did you remember making your debut in any major event like this? I mean, here he is in his home country.
Well, I was going to say, this is his first time in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, and he's going to be a rock star when he walks around town tonight, let me tell you. Kıvanç! I feel like a superstar.
Like nobody knew me in the grocery store.
But now they do. No, but he resides in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, he's training there.
And very popular guy, very nice guy, hardworking, very supportive of other athletes. Look at that heart rate.
That's a normal heart rate right there.
Normal?
Not normal.
What's normal about 188?
Well, Ellie Smarts was like nothing earlier. But that heart rate is taken live off of his arm. That's what that band is right there. So he's got a heart rate monitor. And we're able to show you live. So look at that. It's way up there. The nerves are cranking for Kıvanç Gür.
That's the highest I've seen.
Great lift off that platform, Joey. Love it. Men's 27 meters, 90 feet off the water is where they're launching from.
What a feeling.
Yeah, well, that'll kick things off in the men's round. Take it all in, and just like all of the newcomers and those divers making their debut on the World Series, Joey, take in all the experience.
Oh, he won't.
Everything about it, right? Just the culture, the parties, the dinners, all the stuff that goes along surrounding the competition itself. You gotta take it all in.
Oh, that's right, Trace. It's all about the party, you know what I'm saying? Speaking of taking it in.
Red Bull. Come on.
No, it's awesome. I'll tell you what is awesome, though. Look at this takeoff. Bang! Huge elevation, beautiful pike position, right? Coming out nice and early. The boys got style, but it does take some time to dial in the entry, particularly 27 meters. I remember we used to compete at all these different heights. It was 23, 24, 25, and then we started ramping up around 27, 28 meters, and I could not believe the difference from 25 meters to 27.
He's already set a record in his first ever Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series for the highest rated heartbeat. Beats per minute, 189, Joey. No kidding. That is the highest ever recorded on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series.
He looked pretty calm.
I'm going to add that to the records. I don't even have that on my stat sheet. What's the record heart rate?
Yeah, exactly. But he stayed calm, right? That's the analogy from Andy Banks, the coach. He's like, hey, you got to be cool, right? So you're like a duck. On the surface, you're nice and smooth, but underneath the feet are kicking nice and fast, right? Got to keep it cool. There's Konstantin Popovic.
Popovic is catching up with him yesterday. He's pretty fired up. A little beat up from all the competitions leading in this, but says he's calm. Zoloto Martinez, the new powerhouse from Mexico. He's cranking and diving well. He's looking solid for a permanent diver spot next year. We'll see him shortly, but right now we'll go to the top of that men's platform for 35-year-old American David Coulturi.
Look at that, the sun kissing the ocean there. Plenty of glare.
Beautiful mountains, by the way.
It is a stunning scenery.
I was reading up, there's some good skiing up there, by the way.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe it, right? Well, like Australia, no one believes that there's ski fields there. They're like, what? Yeah, bro.
Aren't jokes in the outback?
You know, a big country. Look at that amazing view of how high that is.
Swimming and skiing the same day. David Coulturi likes both, by the way. Big time skier. David Coulturi pounding one into the Mediterranean here in Antalya, Türkiye. Great job. Caught up with him yesterday, Joey. Just said, man, I'm just trying to fight this whole wild card thing this year, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Invites to only a few events. He replaced Catlin Preda, who we hope is feeling better and better and better. Has been removed himself from the last few competitions. One of David Coulturi's really good friends. It's actually, Dave said, I don't really like replacing Catlin, but you know what? You got to do what you got to do.
No, he's almost there. He's almost there. I mean, they did that great shoot in Saudi Arabia, Catlin Preda and David Coulturi. So definitely go on YouTube and check that out. That was a wild adventure, to say the least. A few close calls for David Coulturi as well. But what I did like watching right here is that beautiful entry by Coulturi. Big fist pump, good scores.
8.5s. He'll actually across the board. He'll drop 2 8.5s. He'll keep 3. Multiplied by the degree of difficulty, 91.80 on that dive. So 142.50. Strong dive for Coulturi. He'll take that score into the third round. As a reminder, if you just joined us, all 4 rounds count in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. We are in men's round 2. Zoloto Martinez, he prepares. We will see him after the great Gary Hunt coming up next.
He's making a lot of people pretty nervous. Everyone's like, oh man.
I know.
But now we got to look out for this guy as well.
I know, we'll talk about that. I mean, Jonathan Paredes, who's, helped him along the way, is like, wait a second, what am I doing? This kid's starting to beat me, so.
Watching Konstantin Popovic, we did a post-interview in Bahrain, and he was like, man, we got to keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, we got to stop giving him the... Stop helping him along. So Gary Hunt, 40 years old, of France, in his 100th start on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Back in action after some time off. Was able to experience Paris. Competed there for France in 10-meter synchro platform. Here we go. Calm he is, Joey. He's still got it, Gary Hunt. Never underestimate this guy.
I mean, can you believe it? 15 years down the track, 2009 when he last competed here, one of the OGs. But he did have a break from cliff diving for quite a while, right? So he's preparing for Paris, so he's doing everything head first. And when he did come back and dive in Montreal, like, he was struggling to find the rotation, right? Like, he was over-rotating, then he was under-rotating. So you've got to shake off that competition rust, right? Bit of ring rust, as they call it.
What he did tell us, though, you see his ankle is taped, right?
Yeah.
He just bandaged up a little bit, and that seems to be with a lot of the divers, Joe. You can elaborate on that, but Gary did tell us, the good thing about doing head first all summer was he didn't beat his feet up in his ankles.
Yeah. I remember Orlando Duque, actually. I mean, he really struggled with his ankles and his feet. He started having problems with his nerves, right? So he hit the water so hard so many times, he had started getting nerve damage in his feet. But Gary was also saying, conversely, but head first, he was actually struggling doing that as well. It's very hard on the neck and the shoulders. But here he is, finding form.
See what the judges think of this one. Gary Hunt's second round dive comes in at an 84.60. Once again, you add that to the 54.60 on your bottom left to that 84, 139.20. So just 3 points shy of David Coulturi. Men's round 2, all 4 rounds count. Gary Hunt is 3 to go of 12. Top-seeded diver Aiden Heslop will dive last. But everybody's talking about this guy, Jolito Martinez, the top-ranked wild card diver on the men's side, making his debut this season. He's 5th. Bumped up to 5th place in the overall World Series points, so he is looking very solid for a permanent diver spot in 2025.
And also solid in terms of his degree of difficulty. So previous tour stop in Bahrain, the World Aquatics event, he did a new dive, so he's got a higher degree of difficulty coming into the 3rd and 4th rounds.
Jolito Martinez, a bit of a splash on that. Now, where did that splash come from, Joey? When he came into the water, he looked very straight. But the littlest of things can throw that water high in the air.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes we talk about the feet coming in front. So sometimes you're lining up and the feet will just tip forwards and it just creates a little bit of room for the, hate to say it, the backside to take the brunt of the impact.
Yep.
And kicking up that splash. But again, like, reiterating, each location has its challenges. I mean, maybe he was struggling to see the surface, but a lot can go right or wrong at these speeds, 85 kilometers per hour from that 27-meter platform. But yeah, just staying sort of hunched on entry, and I think his feet came in front, like I said before. Great takeoff in the ball position there. That's a tuck position, coming out nice and early. Great technical background. Here's the Barani, the front somersault with a half twist, the trampoline maneuver. Let's look at the feet here. We'll look at the line of the body. And just staying in that shape so his feet just travel and over-rotated. What he needed to do was just lift sharper and get into that straight position sooner, and he would have cut through the water. So you've got to stay sharp in the dive. A bit disappointing for Jolito Martinez.
1:16.10 on that. Martinez will have some work to do to crawl up that leaderboard. Coulturi still holds down the top spot with a 1:42.50. People are asking what time it is. I believe it's approaching 5 p.m. here in Antalya, Türkiye. Johnny Paredes, who's helped Jolito Martinez along the way. I know that Jolito Martinez has been inspired by Johnny over the years, just watching him in the Cliff Diving World Series. And Jonathan, though, dropped from 5th to 6th in the World Series point standings after the last stop. And why? Because Martinez hit that podium, moved ahead of him.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan Paredes, very experienced athlete. Also, King Kaikili Trophy winner.
Kaboom! There's that rip entry everybody talks about with Johnny Paredes celebrating his 75th career start on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series here in Antalya.
That's a lot of experience. Seen many things. The thing about Jonathan Paredes, he's just got such a great natural aptitude for that part of the dive, that floating maneuver. Pretty impressive, this sport. The first 10 meters, you perform the acrobatic maneuvers. One somersault completed at the level of the platform. There he is. All the acrobatics are done. And look at that. You've got about a 21 meter, 22 meter floating Barani to adjust to the landing. And you need that floating maneuver to adjust to the landing because that acceleration curve that picks up is exponential, right?
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Once you start dropping past 10 meters, woof, wind picks up. You can hear it rushing past your ears.
Pretty big scores there. 7.5 is what he'll keep. Drop the high and the low. So 81 on that. See that in yellow? 142.10. Still not enough to catch Coulturi. Nevertheless, just shy of that. So Jonathan Paredes will take that score into the third round. We're in the middle of the men's second round. And then we'll get into the women's third round here. And remember to weigh in on our YouTube chat room. Joey and I are checking it out. Welcome all the viewers, and of course on TikTok as well, Nikita Fedotov, 29-year-old, strong diver, celebrating his 30th career start on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. We talk about Johnny and 75 and Gary 100 starts. So we talk about wear and tear on the body. Oof.
Yeah, Nikita's had a few hard shots this year as well, a few hard landings, and he had to recalibrate and readjust. He was performing a back arm stand, 4.5 somersault pike, as well as Catlin Preda, but they both struggle with that dive with some hard landings, so they have to think, okay, I'll push that to the side and do something else as well. So you've got to play that game of execution versus degree of difficulty. So risk versus reward. So how much risk do I want to take? Okay, you get high degree of difficulty. You can roll the dice. It might work. You might get high scores. But essentially, the harder the dive, the harder it is to get a good execution of the dive. Enough guard in for the impact. In with 3 somersaults with a half twist, the arms will come above the head to help them generate rotation.
Right, Fedotov, very nice entry on that. 5 career podiums. All third place finishes. Hoping to upgrade for the end of this 2024 season to that second place spot on the podium, perhaps the top. See if you can do it here in southern Turkey in Antalya.
They'll upgrade to business class, getting up the rank.
Business, lay down a little bit, chill.
Great inward triple half and a bird's eye view of what it's like to be diving from these heights. It's a pretty tricky dive. Your feet come really close to the platform on these dives. Quite often on those inward triple halves, your feet, just the tippy toes of the end of your toes, your end of your feet, I should say, will just touch the platform. And if you're too far away in a particular dive like this, you're going to find it very difficult to generate that rotation.
Water depth, 8 meters, 26 feet. It's the depth of the water. It's Fedotov's 152.40. After 2 rounds, will put him into the top spot over David Coulturi by 10 points. So that'll set the tone as Fedotov is 6 of 12. Air temperature 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Beautiful day. So Fedotov, Coulturi, Paredes, top 3. All 4 rounds count. You see still to come the top 3 in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series points. You see Popovich, Lichtenstein, and Heslop. That's the big story there. Men's round 2 for Konstantin Popovich, the 2023 World Series champ. Amongst the 3, James Lichtenstein, Aiden Heslop, who leads. Popovich sits 3rd in the overall World Series points.
You see quite a few bandages on his legs there. So one on the right thigh for the adductors, the groins. So quite often their legs get pulled apart underneath the water. He had that hyperextended knee in Boston as well, and that was
right.
Yeah, that was pretty concerning, right? I didn't think he was going to come back for the next competition, but he did, and hit the podium as well. Remarkable athlete, very hard-working.
I was talking about he's like that guy in the Terminator. Just never dies, you know? You can hit him with a car and he'd be like, just come back up to life.
It's like,
wait.
unbreakable.
Into the sunlight, backlit. Popovich. Very photographic dive there.
Yeah.
Artsy.
Yeah.
How did he time that? Just getting into that sunlight, Joey, perfectly.
He disappears into the sun. Metaphorical. It's crazy actually listening to the platform. Pay attention to the next dives as well. You can hear them, the platform, the rattle. And those type of dives, when you're doing the front, those inward takeoffs, they have to really stomp on that platform. Watch here. Bang! Pushing away, and you get that little bit of vibration. You need so much pressure on the platform to get the height that you need. Great athleticism. Always demonstrates good flexibility. And a nice entry, just slightly hunched, but a good, consistent dive. And consistent he has been throughout the season. Good.
All right, 170 will drop, and an 8.5. Keep a bunch of 8s. 86.40. Once competed in the Olympics in diving. This is much different, Joey. A little bit higher here.
A little bit.
Platform at 27 meters, 90 feet versus a springboard or a 3-meter springboard or a 10-meter platform in the game. So that'll give you a perspective of what Red Bull cliff diving is all about. 3 times the Olympic height for the men.
Actually, I remember my first time climbing up on top of a high diving tower. It was actually in a show, so I was there just to do some diving. I remember looking down and thinking, no way. Like this round pool, it felt like if I took one step off, I was going to, miss the pool and hit the deck. And I just said, no way, I'm not going to do this. But step by step, you work your way up in increments and you gain the confidence. And then I got hooked.
Carlos Jimenez, 34-year-old Spaniard, 4th in the World Series point standings. A solid second round dive for Jimeno. Another guy looking solid for that permanent spot in 2025. Joe, we talked about that platform. Just walking out on it. I mean, I've been walked out on it. You'd have been invited to the end of the platform, and it's scary, man. I'm not even diving off the thing or jumping off the thing.
It's super scary in those locations like Denmark and Oslo, where you've got those really long platforms, and as you're walking along, you're not over water, right? So you're only actually over the water at the end of it. So you're walking along, it's super gusty and windy, and left and right, you just got concrete on either side.
And if you notice, there's no railings, right? Like,
exactly, yeah.
I mean, when they do have people out there and guests, I mean, obviously they're harnessed in, which is nice.
It doesn't quite meet building codes.
But the divers,
not here in the States anyway.
The divers are walking out with nothing attached. No ropes, no net, no nothing. Man and women versus gravity. And Jimeno will come in with a 139.30. So we've got a beautiful shot of the cliffs here in Antalya, Turkey, the southern coastline, the Mediterranean Sea, known as the Turquoise Coast. The largest Turkish city in the Mediterranean coast. Fourth visited location in terms of tourism in the world. Andrea Barnaba. I like watching this guy, 20 years old, making his 4th ever appearance on the World Series.
Actually, I'm glad he's here. We were in Bahrain. They did a bit of an expedition out to the desert with the camels, and they had some horses as well. So he jumped on this horse, and the horse just bolted. And Andrea had to bail out.
Really?
Yeah, and then jump off the horse. It was kind of like, this is not good. His stunt skills are pretty good. We'll stick him in the movie shortly.
Just directing the safety divers down below where he likes them to be positioned, throwing in his chamois and his sandals. Those up later because he'll need them to get back up for round number 3.
Gain 27 meters, that's 90 feet up. Okay, the height of normal platform diving is 10 meters. That's almost 3 times that height. 55 miles per hour upon impact, 10 G-forces. This is what these athletes are going through.
Second round dive. Solid.
And the thing about Andrea Barnaba is how flexible is this kid, right? I mean, his pike position is out of this world. Look at that. No daylight between his torso and his legs, and a beautiful entry as he dives against that stunning backdrop of the mountains here in Antalya. Flexibility plus, and the judges love to see that, right? So that's maximum scores for the judges. If that pike is a bit open, you see a bit of that daylight between the torso and the legs. Some slight deductions there, but technically proficient. Very, wow.
Oh!
No way.
No, a Big 10. He'll throw that out and he'll keep all 9.5s. By the 5-judge panel, they absolutely loved it. The Italian, 20 years old, Barnaba, with a 166.30. Great job. Moves him into the top spot over Nikita Fedotov here in men's round 2.
And that's his second 10 that he's got. So Andrea Barnaba, at this stage of his career, isn't performing super high degree of difficulty dives, but what he's got is that execution, right? So the coaches are holding him back, let him master these dives, and with more time to come, he's going to add higher degree of difficulty dives to his list.
Konstantin Popovich, we saw his dive. He's in third right now with 148.80. Men's second round. 3 remaining divers before we move into women's round number 3. James Lichtenstein, now second in the World Series points, coming into Türkiye. 147 is his live heart rate.
And to put it into context, resting heart rate for the average human is around 60 beats per minute. So that's telling you what the athletes are going through, and it's not like they're exercising before the dive.
All right, James making up some ground here. He needs a solid score if he wants to be in contention and grab a podium. He's on the podium every single stop but one. That was the last stop in Montreal where he was 4th.
And Jalotl slid in there. Yeah.
Jalotl slid in there, but it didn't take much for him to slip just because that 4th place finish from the top spot in the World Series points, moving into second. Some of the people in our chat room on YouTube, go ahead and weigh in on your questions once again, asking where the judges are placed. They're just placed right close to where you see James right now, right behind our camera. They're in a boat.
In a boat?
In a boat. But they're down below, so they're not like up high or, you know, by the platform takeoff position. They're down in the water in a boat to the side.
Yeah, exactly. The side is the best position to see it, so that way you can actually see the takeoff, see if you're close to platform or not too far away, and you can really see that angle on the entry. So if you're judging from the front, that wouldn't work, so you need that. And it's just impressive how consistent James Lichtenstein has been this season. I mean, the season of his life. Also made the podium at the previous competition, that World Aquatics High Diving World Cup. But he only missed the podium once, like you said, Trace, that 4th position in Montreal. But he knows he's got to dive well to climb up the leaderboard. But it's dive by dive. But try not to think ahead too much.
So 97.20. 162.20 moves into second. So Lichtenstein with some solid points that he will carry into round 3. Well, looks like how about Prigorov jumping in there after he always does solid. He always does a nice job in the first round. But again, the consistency of all 4 rounds is what has plagued Alexei over the season. All 4 rounds count. You have to be consistent in all 4 rounds.
And he performs,
Can't be a one-dive wonder, right?
Performs those running takeoff dives and seems to be struggling with that particular running takeoff dive. But hopefully he can find form.
So Prigorov, nice line. I love his line. One of the taller divers, Joey. When he does it right, it looks absolutely beautiful. So Prigorov of Ukraine, diving number 11 of 12. So this will help him here in this consistency thing that I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, he's got a nice smile on his face. That's a good sign. I love that half-in maneuver. So it's a gainer, triple full. Gainer means reverse. Super stylish. Love how he really attacks the takeoff. Watch this. Just jumps up. Little tilt of the arm. There's that half turn and then into it. Super cool looking dive. Nice and sharp. Great form. Olympic bronze medalist. Beijing Olympics in 3 meter synchronized diving. And what a transition it's been from 3 meters to 27 meters.
Yeah. Great scores by the 5 judges. Once again, the high and the lower toss. The remaining 3 multiplied by the degree of difficulty. So Prigorov with a 91.80. We'll move into third with a 158.10. So Prigorov, who's earned podiums in the Olympic Games, World Cup diving events, European Championships, redbull cliff diving. The dude's done it all.
There's a few little funny chats here in the YouTube group. He's got Robert. I can do a 200 backflip.
I can do a 200 backflip.
Okay, buddy. Send us the video.
All right, final diver on the men's side for round number 2 before we get into women's round 3. Then we'll check out men's round 3 after that. Beats per minute, 148 in terms of Aiden Heslop's heart rate. The World Series point leader after his victory at the last stop in Montreal, pulled him ahead of James Lichtenstein.
Average score from the judges on this is 8.4, so he normally performs this dive well. He needs a good performance again across all 4 dives.
Heslop will continue with excellent diving. Putting it down, round number 2. Reports coming in, Joey. A lot of the divers getting affected by that light that you were talking about, that reflection.
Yeah, it can be hard. I noticed with those inward dives right there, because then actually you're facing back towards the ocean, you might cop some of that glare in those dives. And I did notice that, for example, Gelotto Martinez just couldn't quite get that line up right. So sometimes in the morning or the afternoons is when you tend to get some of that really strong glare. Aiden Heslop, let's look at the line here. So just slightly hunched. I mean, not a bad dive, but not a great dive. But the only really high scoring dive I've seen is, of course, Andrea Barnaba with that score of 10 there. But we've got some very high degree of difficulty dives to come with Aiden Heslop in round 3 and 4. But good scores. No, very good.
Look at this, though. This is pretty interesting when you have that 88.20 and a 158.40 puts Aiden Heslop into third, which means Andrea Barnaba, for the first time in his career, his very short career on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, will be number 1 going into the men's 3rd round. So perhaps a bit of confidence for the young Italian.
A little cup of confidence
thrown in, but James Lichtenstein, Mr. Consistent, no surprise. Heslop, Popovich in 6th, so they have 2 rounds of diving left. Anything can happen, but perhaps we'll see Andrea Barnaba scoring his first podium if he keeps up the nice work. So they're 7 through 12 on the men's side for round number 2. Carrying into round 3.
But there's still time with round number 3. We'll start to see that leaderboard get shaken up, particularly with a high degree of difficulty dive. So Andrea Barnaba leading the charge. The only disadvantage for him is that lower degree of difficulty. especially in comparison to the likes of Konstantin Popovic, Aiden Heslop, James Lichtenstein, Angelotto Martinez. So you need that high DD. That'll come, not this season, but keep an eye out for Andrea Barnaba. Mark my words.
It's like an auto race. You got to maintain those tires through all the laps. You know, can't wear them out early. You know.
Yeah. I mean, Konstantin was did a bit of a burnout in Boston. Let's call it.
All right. So a beautiful shot of the Mediterranean. Michael Frost. Frosty's with us. He's with Aiden Heslop. Frosty.
Warum hat er ja?
We'll get to him in a second. We get set for the women's round number 3. Remember, round 4 is tomorrow, 1500 Central European time. That is 6 a.m. Pacific time in the United States. You can watch it later that day exclusively in the United States on ESPN. Zita Vernadsky will kick things off. It's reverse order once again from the results after the second round coming into this third round. So the lowest scores will dive first. But again, Joey and I will be live, Red Bull TV, tomorrow for the final rounds. We look at Rhiannan Iffland. She will dive last, carrying that 163.30 into the third round. And that'll help her secure her 8th King Cog Healy trophy. If she wins, it's done. If she's actually top 3 and ahead of Molly Carlson, it's over with. She'll win the trophy here in Antalya, Turkey.
And that was a good lead she's got at the moment, so around 22 points ahead of Simone Leadhead. So that's what she needs, a bit of confidence coming into that. But the all-important optional dive rounds are to come right now. So round 3, let's open up the can of degree of difficulty. Looking at Kaylee Arnett on the screen right now. 3 podiums this season.
You know, when the camera usually hits some of the divers, some of the athletes, they're always kind of making up and doing something like for the camera. That's her. When you walk by her without a camera, that's Kaylee Arnett right there.
Yeah, man, she's awesome.
Just rocking. It's cool.
She's got a vibe. So does Zita, actually. Her coach was saying that she's definitely quite a character, very brave. She's talking about the first time she went to a diving pool, and they're all asking, where's Zita? All of a sudden they look up. She's 8 years of age, standing on the platform like, whoa, what's going on?
Oh, really?
So definitely very brave from the get-go. And according to her coach, just absolutely loves the sport of cliff diving, just lives for it, comes into training with a smile, working hard. This beautiful shot of this fantastic location here in Antalya. This is cliff diving.
Yeah, the cliffs located between Lara and Kanya Alti beaches. Molly Carlson getting tuned up and ready to go next to her coach Steph. And we are ready to rock for women's round number 3. Trace Worthington here alongside Joey Zuber. We have Frosty on the ground, cruising around a little bit. Glad to have you with us. YouTube Live chat room is happening. People asking what place is Molly in. She is in 10th. She will dive number 10, so she was 3rd place coming into this round to answer that question. Simone Leadhead is in 2nd, so the Canadians pack in the YouTube chat room.
Yeah, so Simone Leadhead, 141.40. Molly Carlson, 133.70. So but Molly does have some very difficult dives to come.
One of the divers who looked up to Simone and Molly is this youngster, 17-year-old Zita Vernadsky. Must be very cool, Joey, to be in this competition, getting invited to the southern coast of Turkey and Antalya for stop number 7 as a wild card diver, to dive with people that she's looked up to. She appreciates the work ethic of Xanthia Panizzi.
Yeah.
She appreciates Ellie Smart for really, encouraging youngsters to get into the sport. Of course, just Molly for being Molly and, having a great attitude. So she's mentioned so many female divers that have inspired her over the years.
Molly definitely is inspiring a lot of women around the world, and fellow Canadian diving and high diving athletes. Always comes to training with a smile and the competitions with a smile. It's all about Zita right now, so just looking to regain some confidence after that round 2 dive.
So what is this third round in comparison to the second round? You get to choose the dives?
Yep. So we've got a step up in degree of difficulty. And so in the competition, you have to do 4 different takeoff directions. So, for example, you need 1 dive going front, 1 dive going inward, 1 dive going backwards. In this particular case, she's going back 3 somersaults with 1 twist. But this is where you see much higher degree of difficulty. 3.9 for Zita.
Not in the center of the platform, so just a little bit off. So putting one down. Zita Bernatsky getting that experience, a 17-year-old Canadian. We talk about just pushing a little bit to the side, Joey. A lot of divers do that, but how come they don't just start in the center?
Sometimes it can be a visual thing. They think, I feel more comfortable with the visuals on that side of the platform. And sometimes it's just plain superstition.
Yeah.
They just get used to it, right? Like they just kind of go, no, I just feel more comfortable a little bit to the left and the right, Like if you look at, what's the tennis player, the Spanish guy's name, Rafael Nadal. You ever seen him play tennis? He's always like placed that water bottle perfectly. He's got these little kind of sort of strange OCD sort of rituals.
Right.
We're all like that.
I'd be in the center
right?
then. I'm OCD, but I'd be in the center, right?
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, Zita this time managing to actually get her arms down on the dive. So the previous round, you saw her putting her arms up, so that was a max score of 4.5. But she was looking like she's rotating a little bit quicker this time, but she was like, no way I'm landing in the water with my arms up this time. So coming around for the Brani, very glary there in that particular shot. Slight over rotation, but great job getting the arms down.
Our YouTube chat room, Kelly's asking what time Eastern US for round 4. It'll be, I believe, 9 a.m. 9 a.m., I believe, 9 a.m. East Coast time in North America. So 167.25. So Bernatsky will set the pace. Women's round 3. Expect a little boogie in here. Here we go.
Yeah, go.
Wait, she had a little ballet move in there.
Yeah, man. She's got style.
Not at all. Haley Arnett moved up a couple spots after that first round dive where she went first in the running order. Now Kaylee, who's only competed in 3 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series events, has podiumed in all 3. That's unheard of. Unless your name's Rhiannan Iffland.
Yeah. So front triple half for Kaylee Arnett.
Been involved in diving since she was 8. Competed in rodeos as a young girl. Grew up in Texas. Father's a stuntman back in the day.
Wrecking cars. Sounds fun.
Family of daredevils. Oh, you didn't even see a drop of water come back up into the sky.
Wow. That would feel pretty good. It was interesting. She said felt like it was a little fast that dive, but she held on.
Oh, love it.
Hey, forget the diving. Let's look at the dancing. Oh, we don't need the diving replays. Little dancing as the sun kisses the water. But she kissed the water in style here. Look at this. Pow! Just like a little flick of water left behind. She's saying that she was feeling fast, but she did a good job by staying straight. Every single dive is different. So sometimes you take off going, whoa, I'm feeling slow. I've got to work harder. Coming around here and right there, she's like, whoa, feeling a bit fast. She just keeps it straight, and holds on. So making her body longer to slow it down to hold on for that rotation. So you're always making those fine adjustments and a fine score.
Wow, a bunch of 9s. And a reminder, the high and the lower toss, the remaining 3 multiplied by the degree of difficulty in yellow, 94.50 on that dive. Add the first 3 rounds all together, 194.10, a big score. The American Kaylee Arnett. Super chill. It's been paying off. Another diver looking solid to get that permanent position for the 2025 season. As we look at Jeannie van Katwijk, the 39-year-old diver of the Netherlands, also looking good for a permanent diver spot next season, currently 4th in the overall World Series points.
A few little comments in the chat room about Kaylee's dive. Nice. No fluff. No kapulif on that one, let me tell you. Let's get refocused for Jeannie van Katwijk. Really hard arm stand dive right now. Arm stand forward 2.5 somersaults with 1.5 twist in pike position. Big DD, 4-2. DD means degree of difficulty. So the more somersaults and the more twists that you add, the higher the tariff. You get a little extra bump for these arm stand dives as well.
Oof. So impressive. Women's platform, 21 meters, 70 feet. Drop in the Mediterranean Sea. Katwijk nails that one.
Yes, she says.
Since we're having some fun on YouTube, Joey, today, what scares her most about cliff diving? That's what we asked her. She said, dog doo-doo. I don't know why it has anything to do with cliff diving. She said that's what scares her most, is just stepping in dog doo-doo. It like freaks her out. It's a very traumatic experience. So there you go.
Well, you don't want dog doo-doo in your toes before you're taking off, so you might slip. I don't know. What's going on there? I'm totally baffled. But anyway.
She said she will throw the shoes away if she steps in it.
Jeannie, I'm going to have a chat to you about this one after the show. All right, let's get back to the dive. Enough of the doggy doo-doo.
Yeah. No.
This dive was not doo-doo. This dive was good.
Let's stay with it.
This is good. But these arm stand dives, wow, they're so hard. Particularly the arm stand forward takeoff. Very difficult to press the arms and get that rotation. She's worked very hard this season. She deserves those good results like that we saw in Northern Ireland.
Hit the podium there. That was a very emotional moment for Jeannie, as she'll keep a bunch of 7s, including a 7.5. So she'll roll up all 3 first round dives into a 197.10. So that'll pull ahead of Kaylee Arnett in this particular round. So Jeannie is 3 to go of 12, and all 4 rounds count. We're in the women's 3rd round. The men's 3rd round to follow. Tomorrow is the 4th and final round here in Antalya, Türkiye. Stop number 7 of 8, and it is winding down in terms of points for the season. Permanent diver spots on the line. You have the King Kahili trophies on the line, especially on the men's side, where it's a battle between 3 guys. So look at our next diver, Lisa Cassetti of Italy. 22 years old. Go, Cassetti drilling one down. Nice underwater shot of that clear turquoise water. That is 26 degrees Celsius, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Not sure if he's super impressed with that. Joe, real quick, talk about the warm water versus colder water. We experienced cold water, or the divers have, not you and me, but like in Ireland, and then you come here, it's warmer in Polignano Amaro, Italy, and then we get back to some colder waters in Boston.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes, well, normally when the water's quite cold, quite flat, so let's say you're diving in Switzerland in a lake, the impact can be quite hard. If it's open ocean water, nice and warm, it tends to be a lot softer. However, I have dove in some competitions in Italy, which is in a narrow gorge. Maybe all the sediment kicked up, but everyone talked about like, wow, that was a brutal impact. So there's some strange things that go on that make the impact more tough. Normally when it's warmer and conditions like this, it's definitely a lot softer. Speaking of that entry, actually, big over rotation, that's a really common factor with those inward takeoffs I've seen here today. Most of the athletes are missing that when they're facing back out towards the water. So that sun glare must be causing some problems for some of the athletes.
Yeah, Frosty's been reporting back to me, and he said it has been a lot of the talk out there down by the water, which we're not just right there by the water. So he's giving us these reports. He said, yeah, it's affected these guys a lot. Aiden, keep it PG. There, buddy.
Oh, dear.
He's like, I'm the World Series lead. I can do whatever I want. Meanwhile, you have Gary Hunt. We do apologize for that on behalf of Mr. Heslop. There is Gary Hunt juggling away, which we love to see him behind the scenes. His 100th stop. We'll see him shortly, but right now, Nelly Chukanivska, 17 years old. Third ever start of the World Series. Future of the sport. That glare, Joey. All right. A nice entry for Nelly.
She didn't struggle with the glare on that one. I mean, she was getting something dialed in. Maybe she had a sunglass contact lenses in or something. I don't know.
No, it's getting bright out there. And again, we talked about earlier, just talking about the diversity in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, Joey. All these different locations, from sunshine on the side in front of you, to no sunshine and dark, you know, it was dark in Ireland, right?
Right. Well, diving like
raining, and it's just like for these divers to handle all these different elements and conditions is absolutely crazy and impressive.
Northern Ireland, without a doubt, was one of the most challenging, particularly with the off the cliff rounds. And we had a round that was, I can't remember, starting around about 7 o'clock at night. You know, they weren't wrapping up until sort of 8:30, and then up again early in the morning, diving off the cliffs around 6, 7 in the morning. Very challenging indeed. But a lot of the athletes are no doubt enjoying the experience here, albeit very challenging with the sun glare, but nice and warm and a beautiful location.
75.85 in yellow, that's that dive. Round 3 is where we're in right now with the women. So all 3 rounds added together, 187.25. So that's the score that Chukanivska will carry into the 4th round. People asking about Catlin Preda. A lot of people do. One of the stars of the sport. He's still not competing. Is he here? Did he try doing some training round dives?
I saw him in Bahrain, and he was just having still a couple of issues, so he wasn't quite recovered. He was almost there. He's looking great, physical shape, but it's just a few more little things he's got to work on just to get back to full health. So again, wishing him a full recovery soon, we hope. But he's doing the right thing, taking his time and doing it when it's right for him.
So Bailey Carpenter for a 3rd round dive. Putting one in is Carpenter, the 36-year-old American and former NCAA Division I college coach, also science teacher. So that's been the hardest part about the balancing act this year. School started recently. You know, she's been trying to teach and also kind of be like, hey guys, to her classes, you know, hey, I'll be gone for a week. Going to Antalya, Türkiye to dive off a women's platform that is, 21 meters, 70 feet off of the Mediterranean Sea. I'll see you guys in a little bit.
I just got to break it up with some cliff diving, you know what I'm saying? What? Just keeping it real. No, but some of the athletes, have a day job. Some of them work in shows and they've got to get time off work and travel out here. But a lot of the athletes are now starting to be able to make a living out of the sport full time, which is great. And there's been a lot of competitions this season with Red Bull Cliff Diving, 8 in total. So that's great for the athletes and great for the new generation.
Absolutely. Carpenter, 6 to go, 12. So hitting the midway mark of the women's 3rd round. And final round for today before we push on to tomorrow. Round 4, live, 1500 Central European time, 6 a.m. Pacific time in the USA, 9 a.m. East Coast time. For those Bailey Carpenter fans in the U.S. Next competitor to dive, Maria Paula Quintero.
Big dive here, front 4 somersaults in the tuck position with a half twist. As I said earlier in the show, the first woman in the world to perform this dive. She actually used to do it with a running takeoff, and now she prefers doing it with a standing takeoff. She feels like it's more consistent that way. It's tricky with the running takeoffs because you have to make sure you get to the end of the platform. You don't want to be too short of the platform. She feels better this way.
Maria Paula Quintero. Saw earlier Orlando Duque, fellow Colombian, our Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series sports director, had his phone out, doing a little video, helping her out. The youngest diver ever to earn a permanent diver position on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series when she accomplished that at the age of 18, now 24 years old.
Yeah, pretty experienced athlete. Maria Paula Quintero using maximum power that throw there. So you have to bend the arms, throw forward. It's a bit like throwing a soccer ball in from the sideline. You need to do that to generate that rotation. There's that tuck position. And a lot of people ask, does it hurt when you hit the water? Yes, it does. You can see her feet going a little bit flat there to help make a hole for the body to pass through. You want to be as straight as possible. It's like jumping through a manhole. You don't want to clip the edges.
80 points on that dive. Added together with the first 2 rounds, 2:03.80. So Quintero moves into the top spot over Carpenter. 5 women remain in round 3 before we move on to the men's round 3. 7th stop of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series of 8. And here in Antalya, Türkiye, one of the original locations from 2009, which is the first year that the World Series began. So it's the first return in 15 years. Penultimate stop of this 2024 season before a 6-week break. And then we'll head on to the finals in Sydney, Australia in November. Here is Ellie Smart from the U.S.
So back 2 somersaults, 3 twists. Ellie Smart.
Look nice in the air with that backlit backdrop right there, the sunshine glare on the water. It's one of the divers that Frosty told me was getting affected by it. It was kind of messing with her head a little bit coming into the 2nd and 3rd round.
Yep.
That glare.
Yep, and again, highlighting the challenges, diving outdoors as opposed to indoors and traditional diving. I have to say, it's great to be back to these natural cliff locations. I just love watching the off-the-cliff rounds. So if you're watching on the socials, go back, look through the socials as well. You can see some of the off-the-cliff rounds there on the Instagram channel. Get a bit of an insight of what it's like for the athletes to dive from the cliff face. Definitely a lot different from diving from the platform. When you're diving off the cliff, you've got to lean a long way forwards. Here you've got to stay nice and close to the platform. Bit of a no rotation for Ellie Smart, feeling a little hunched. And the sun is setting over the sea here in Antalya. And definitely providing some challenges for the athletes with the glare.
Ellie with a 58.90, highlighted in yellow for that dive, 188. Puts her into 5th. Men coming up next, their 3rd round, James Lichtenstein and Aiden Heslop, the 2 guys that are eyeing up the 2024 King Kahekili Trophy. Beautiful cliffs of Antalya, southern Türkiye. Xanthia Panisi. followed by Rhiannan Iffland. The Aussies back-to-back here, top 2 coming into this 3rd round.
Big dive here. She's only done this dive a few times in competition.
Highest degree of difficulty in this round. An impressive dive for Xanthia Panizzi. And Joey will talk about the highest degree of difficulty versus a little bit of a splash on the landing. Does that work together?
Yeah, sometimes they can play dividends, right? So you can have some nice high degree of difficulty. You might miss the dive a little bit, but a little bit that's in your favor is the degree of difficulty. But it's a balancing act, right? So sometimes you have to go, maybe I'll do a slightly easier dive and maybe I can get 9s in the dive. And that might actually end up being better off. But what has really impressed me with Xanthia Panizzi, she couldn't get off the platform in Oslo, like we said earlier. But then to come back and learn a new dive, so she's got a new running front twisting dive. She's only done this dive a few times. And on top of that, learnt that arm stand dive. I mean, that is just unbelievable. A lot of times when people come back from those mental blocks, they come back and just do really simple dives. And she's gone, no, full reset, come back with 2 new dives. That is impressive to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Working with that sports psych we talked about a little bit earlier, overcoming the fear or understanding the fear, being okay with being scared. I love all the things she's saying about that. 207.40 is the grand total after 3 rounds of diving, so she moves into the top spot, which will be great for the Aussie, moving into the 4th round, which will go down tomorrow in the top 2. The exact position of where she'll be is in the fate of our next diver, Rhiannan Iffland.
And that high DD dive for Xanthia did pay off or pay dividends. She's holding on to the lead right now, but of course we've got Molly Carlson, Simone Leadhead and Rhiannan Iffland to come.
Perfect. Day. I'm running.
4.4 degree of difficulty here. So this is the highest degree of difficulty dive as well. And a different dive. So running front 4 somersaults with a half twist pike. Massive dive. Very scary doing that run up. You've got to get right to the end of the platform. You can't come up too short. And of course, you can't go too far forwards.
A huge appreciation by all of the divers. You heard that rattle of the platform. Used every ounce of that platform. You don't get any spring off the end of that thing.
No.
It looks like she did, though. So Molly Carlson, I had the running order a little bit off there. So it's Carlson, Leadhead, and Iffland, as you mentioned, Joey, here in the remaining part of this round. Women's 3 rounds of diving before 4.
And Molly Carlson definitely rattling some of the bolts off the platform on this dive.
Jeez.
But that is because of that running takeoff. She's up in the air, comes back down, and stomps on the end, throws the arms forward to help her generate that rotation required for that massive dive. Front 4 somersaults in the pike position with a half twist. And she needed a good dive with that high degree of difficulty. A few little slip-ups in the earlier rounds, just small ones. To put a bit of pressure on Rhiannan Iffland to come. Very impressive. Good takeoff. It's very easy on that kind of takeoff to cut it down. When I say cut it down, just throw the arms down and you chop down on the rotation. You get off the platform a little bit low. So she's gone off the takeoff or the platform nice and high, which gives you more control on the end of the dive. And good scores.
8.5, so 7.5 in there. She'll lose one of those. And an 8.5, so 2 8s. 8.5, 107.80 on that dive, 241.50. So Carlson now in the top spot as Konstantin Popovich warms up for his third round dive. The men coming up here momentarily. So it goes Simone Leathead, followed by Rhiannan Iffland. Right now it is Carlson on the top of the leaderboard, Panizzi, Kataro in third.
Now, Simone Leathead would need some very high scores from the judges to move into the lead, so she would need some 9s and 8.5s to make that happen. She's a very good diver. It is possible, but a lot of the athletes have been struggling with the entries on these inward dives, except for Nelly Chukuniska. Let's see how Simone Leathead fares with this inward triple half pike.
Look great in the air, nice entry by Simone Leathead, the new permanent diver on the series for 2024. Came out blazing hot in Greece with that third place finish. Some dismal roller coaster ride results since then.
Yep, Northern Ireland was definitely one of those events that she really struggled with. It was kind of traumatic for her, to be honest.
Yeah.
But she's back on track, right? And that's all about gaining experience in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. And sometimes those mishaps or those difficult competitions will help you in the future, right? It's all part of the journey. You've got to have a few bumps and bruises and a bit of a rough ride to improve sometimes. That happens to everybody in this sport. But a good takeoff, beautiful flight. She's so graceful in the air. Very nice entry, ever so slightly hunched. But those judges are sitting in that perfect side angle to look at the entry line. And she waves to her compadres. What do the judges think? Pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. 89.70 on that third round dive. You add it together with round 1 and 2, 231.10. So Leathead into second behind Carlson. 10 points behind Carlson. Good tight leaderboard between Carlson, Leathead, and Panizzi so far. Stein gets a little massage.
The old sausage roll going there.
Yep.
You know?
All right, make some noise, folks. She wants to hear it. Rhiannan Iffland, final women's diver in round 3. Then we'll move on to the men. Round 4 goes down tomorrow for both the men and the women. And this diver right here could wrap up her 8th King Ka-Keeley Trophy. If she wins here, stays ahead of Molly Carlson. Running takeoff here?
So running takeoff. Speak to her in Bahrain. She said this was, without a doubt, one of the hardest dives she's done. She found it incredibly difficult to gauge the right rotation. Sometimes she's too slow, sometimes too fast. It's a tough one, she said.
Making it look easy there. Not a tough day for Rhi here in Antalya, Turkey. Drilling one into the Mediterranean. That will be huge going into round number 4.
She was like, was that good? Because sometimes actually you come out of the water, you're like, I don't know if it was good.
Really? Yeah.
Sometimes you know that you hit it, you can, you know, you're like, oh yeah, I've hit that. I can hear that rip entry through the water. I've had times when I've hit the water and it's been an absolute ragdoll of a situation underneath the water, torn apart. And I remember coming out of the water going, man, I'm going to get caned by the judges. Came up and got 9s. I couldn't believe it. So underneath the water, it's a different picture. Just a slight roll through there, but she's done a great job managing the rotation on that dive. So in a independent competition in Sardinia in Italy, not part of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, she did go arms up on this particular dive. So she's well aware of the fact that she can easily over-rotate or under-rotate on this dive. But got the calculation right. Just needed to lift up a little sharper, but all round a very good dive for Rhiannan. She needed that.
Once again, it's all about those high points going into round 4 and having that padding, especially for her. Could lock in King Ka-Keeley Trophy number 8. with those scores, it looks pretty good that she'll do that. 2:59.30. So 18 points ahead of Carlson. 28 points ahead of Leadhead. It's not over, though.
No, it's not.
Anything can happen in round 4.
But that is a good lead for Rhiannan Iffland. That definitely gives her a little bit of a buffer there above Molly Carlson. Rhiannan Iffland will leave her highest degree of difficulty dive for tomorrow, so stay tuned for that.
And round 4, another optional round, right?
Yep.
So
Definitely
usually when we always say, that's when they break out the big stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of the athletes may have done that now, but, you know.
Exactly. Some like to actually do their more difficult dives in round 3 just to take the pressure off on that 4th and final round.
Yeah.
Get it over and done with. Molly Carlson likes to do that. Like, get that hard dive done and then save my best dive for the 4th and final round. So just one more dive for the athletes tomorrow. They need a good night's rest and get ready for a good competition. No partying tonight, folks. All right? Stay cool.
And round 4 will go down tomorrow. Sunday, 1500 Central European Time, 6 a.m. Pacific Time in the USA, 9 a.m. on the East Coast. There's the men's start list for this round 3 coming up. We are live. Remember, weigh in on the comments on the YouTube chat. Welcome all the viewers on TikTok as well. It's been great to see all these rounds and at these events on a variety of platforms, Joey. It's usually only the 4th round and live on Red Bull TV, and now we've got a lot of stuff happening. So when we go to Sydney, you're going to be able to see TikTok in the 1st round, and then you're going to see us on YouTube Live for round 2 and 3, and then Red Bull TV, YouTube, everything.
Yeah, and check out TikTok to watch round 1 here. That's really interesting to watch those off-the-cliff rounds. That's cool. I love that. That's my favorite stuff.
And it's good. It's just, it's Frosty with his phone walking around, or David O.C.
keeping it loose.
Too, and just keeping it loose and having some fun. So definitely pretty cool. RedbullCliffdiving.com is always the place to go to see where and when things are aired. Okay, 167. That is a big.
Well, he's got it down from 188. So
yeah, exactly.
And he's done a bit of deep breathing before this dive. He's doing good.
If you just joined us, he had a 189 beats per minute in round number 2. That was big.
His heart nearly pumped out his chest.
Yeah, it was a record, by the way. So
good on you, Kavanch.
Kavanch Gur making the record books in his debut on the World Series.
Stylish diver, though. Graceful.
All right, there you go. Getting some experience, Kavanch Gur. From right here in Türkiye. You mentioned earlier, Joey, living and training, though, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Actually went to school in the United States. School in Louisville, Kentucky.
So a lot of the athletes, not a lot, but some of the athletes actually go over to the States and dive part of the collegiate program. And they have some great coaches over there. David Kulturi was part of that Purdue crew, along with Steve LeBeau as well. But love Kavanch's takeoff here. You definitely see that training in Fort Lauderdale and America with that diving background has paid dividends here. Just needs a little bit more work on the entry. So letting those feet just drift forward. Very important to lift nice and sharp at the end of the dive. Just get that last little bit of a lift to get to vertical. But what an honor it is to dive in front of the home crowd for Kavanch.
Now that we move into the men's 4th round, a reminder, their platform, 27 meters, 90 feet off the Mediterranean. So he has that 73.80, 173.55 when you add 3 rounds together so far. So that's the score. 173 is what he'll carry into the 4th round tomorrow. All 4 rounds count. Beautiful day, Antalya, Türkiye. The southern coastline, 700 kilometers south of Istanbul. These cliffs located between Lara and Konyaaltı beaches.
So Gelotto Martinez.
Gelotto Martinez, look, I mean, he's diving second.
Yeah, that slip
Work
up.
to do.
Yeah, that little slip up in round 2. What a big over rotation. Now he's got a big dive, so back arm stand, 3.5 somersaults, 2 twist pike. Maybe that high DD and that, hopefully he can get good scores and climb back up to the midway point of the field, perhaps.
Go. Jonathan Martinez in that risk versus reward scenario. Should he be back? We're talking about him coming in hot with some higher degree of difficulty dives into this competition. Joey, what would you do or what would you suggest to him? Would you say, hey, kind of stick with the stuff you were doing in Montreal?
Well, I mean, we're having it with like the Australian kid, Zach Picton, right? He's just like, I want to do back quints. I want to do all these dives. He actually did do back quint, but we had to hold him off for a little while. I know the Italians are just holding Andrea back just a little bit more just to work on the entry. I mean, generally speaking, yes, I normally recommend say, look, just keep it easy, stick with a safe list, but there's no holding this kid back, you know.
Well, yes, their ego kicks in a little bit, right? No, I want to do that, man. I want to do. I know.
Yeah, because they want to see everyone. They see everyone else, oh, doing that dive. Oh, I can do that. The good thing about Jalotl is he's got a great technical background, but it's really important to work on the fundamentals, in particular, getting the entry right. You've got to nail the entry first, and then normally you bring in those harder dives. But that being said, he's still performing very well. Let's give him credit. A little bit of a slip up this competition, but again, all part of the learning curve.
I'll tell you what,
right?
yeah, exactly, all about it. It's exactly what it's all about. Kick a little reality into him, right?
Yeah.
You know, like,
You know, stay humble.
But, you know, he is sitting nicely on that World Series point list at number 5. Impressive. Speaking of impressive, the 100th World Series start. That's a record for any diver. For Gary Hunt, greatest of all time. He's won more competitions than anybody, more starts than anybody.
The moat.
The moat.
The most of all stats.
Everything. 40 years old of France. Still got it. Big splash on that, but nevertheless, the 40-year-old Gary Hunt, the 10-time King Kakili Trophy winner, the most decorated cliff diver of all time. Regardless of results, the spectators are treated to greatness by just having him here. The second stop that he's competed in this season, took some time off to compete at the Paris Games.
Yep, definitely the most consecutive wins, 6, most consecutive podiums, 21, most consecutive World Series podiums, 13, most wins, 46. You name it, he's done it, he's been there. The thing that impressed me the most is that he never missed a competition until this year. And that was, of course, for Paris. I mean, that is just unheard of. I mean, most of the athletes at some point will suffer some kind of an injury, some kind of an illness. In Ireland, actually, he rocked up with chicken pox. He looked like death warmed up, covered in spots. And I just thought there is just no way he's going to compete, but he muscled through and he did it. He's an absolute gentleman and an absolute legend in the sport.
He's the most unassuming athlete, diver you'll ever meet. He's so chill. 2:27.40 was the grand total after 3 rounds of diving. So Hunt, third to go of 12 in the number 1 position. Beautiful day, 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Sun going down, a little glare affecting some of the divers. And some of the reports coming in as we look at Carlos Ameno. Next diver to drop. Needs 6s to pull into the lead over Gary Hunt. Shouldn't be a problem for this guy.
Big dive here, back 5 somersaults in the tuck position. You can see that big, deep breath. Just trying to pull into that focus zone before the dive.
Oh, a lot of flips going on. Carlos Jimeno.
A lot of
Love
flips.
it.
That's an understatement.
Love
5 somersaults in total. There's that steely-eyed look or that squinty look. He needs his sunglasses right now to see the judges' scores.
And those new to the sport, Joey, in any acrobatic sport like this, but 5 somersaults, everyone says, how do you know where how do they know where they are,
Yeah,
right? Like,
that
that's,
is
that's
the
the biggest question.
Particularly with these rotating dives, you've got to deal with the one constant factor, and the one constant factor is always going to be the water, right? So that's what you want to see.
Oof.
You essentially count the a little air braking going on there.
Pull the parachute,
Right?
buddy.
They put their little elbows back, winding down the windows, as we call it. Head flicking back, counting the water there. Counting it for the second time, third. And when you see it for the fourth time, then you know, there it is. I need to kick out. Yeah, he kicked out past that vertical line and he put his arms up. He did a good job.
We can't say on air what he was thinking right there when he kicked out that last
Like,
flip.
oh, no. But oh, yes, he held it together. He just got in there. But he was aware of what was going on and he just lifted the arms up a little bit just to extend the body to put the air brakes on, and it worked for him. If he didn't do that, he might have really over-rotated quite badly.
Actually, that was enough to overtake Gary Hunt. Pulls into the lead, 258.90. That's the score he will carry into the fourth and final round. Remember, all 4 rounds count. They're all added together. One of the most consistent divers over the years is Johnny Paredes. This is his 75th career start in the World Series. So you can imagine that's the second most to Gary Hunt, who is here. In terms of those diving at this particular event, Joey. That podium finish in Pognano Mare. Winner of the King Kakili Trophy in 2017, one of only 5 guys in the history of the World Series. There you go, Johnny Paredes with his 3rd round dive. Still jamming away. I did catch up with him. He said there's a lot of fatigue. And you talked about it earlier, Joey, with all these different events coming in. This year has been a big year. 8 stops on the schedule. This is number 7.
Yeah.
Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, but that's just part of what these guys do in addition to the training.
Exactly, and you've got to take this into consideration, right? Time zone changes, long flights. Life on the road is not that easy sometimes. It's easy when it's all just sort of European-based, but, you know, we're bouncing back and forth and going over to the States, back to Europe, then flying back over to Montreal and, you know, and dealing with these different kind of conditions. Hot temperatures, cold temperatures. You know, the body just takes a beating on these landings, right? It's 10 G-forces. Sometimes your legs just fly apart underneath the water and pull your groin apart. Knee injuries, all this kind of thing. So it's really important to maintain that strength training throughout the season. It's easy to get lazy.
Well, dude, it's not a team sport, too, where sometimes you couldn't get lazy. Be like, put me on the bench for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
There's no putting on yourself on the bench.
Yeah, I'm tapping foul. And you take my round, bro.
You're in, dude. Once you go off that platform, you're gone. Like, you can't go back. So Paredes, nice job, 236.10. Jimeno still in the top spot with a 258. Johnny is 5 to go of 12. Colturi is next. Colturi 66 starts, so he's right up there in the likes of Paredes in terms of starts and experience.
A lot of the athletes are doing these lead-up dives before they get onto the 27-meter platform. So there's some lower platforms here that they've built. They build platforms somewhere around 5 meters, 7 meters, or 10 meters. To reiterate, most of the complex maneuvers and skills are done in the first 10 meters. So right here you'll see a reverse somersault, 3.5 twists. In the first somersault, then he widens his arm to stop the twist, and then he'll do what's called a Barani. So it's really important to work on that first part of the dive over and over and over to dial in that skill so you feel more confident when you're standing on a 27-meter, 90-foot platform.
Go Kulturi.
Yeah, it's looking
No
good.
splash on that. You can say it, Joey. Was it a disappearing act? Or not quite?
Not quite. Not
Quite? Okay, you're not going to give it.
Not a little teacup blip.
Joey.
Teacup.
I'm waiting.
Teacup blip.
Maybe you're saving it for the 4th round.
Yeah, you needed that.
You
That's what
needed
he
that.
said. Yeah. A little headbutt to the camera. I like it. So there's the 3.5 twist at that 1 somersault mark. The safety divers flicking their fins up to retrieve the athletes just in case. Great technique, good elevation from the platform, wrapping that twist. Those twisting dives, you really need to feel your way in the air. That just comes with repetition. Using those arms to come out wide, locking the legs out, flattening the feet for the entry.
He's got the long hair, the scruffy face. Kind of a little Daniel Boone look right there, huh?
Daniel Boone.
Yeah.
I dig it. Now, he's a bit of a cool cat, David Kulturi.
Yeah, he is. 105.75. 248.25. So Kulturi moves into second. Said he's been having a great season this year, even though he's battling with this wild card stuff, right? It's been hectic for him, but said he's really enjoying the travel. He's one of those guys that takes advantage of every single day and every moment, every country. Absorbs all the culture. Has a good time.
Yeah, and you've got to
He's young
realize
enough
that.
to travel the world, right? He's
Yeah,
like, hey man, I'm going to be diving around the world. I'm going to go take advantage and educate myself on all the great cities and countries.
Yeah, it's a privilege.
So here we go, Konstantin Popovic. He's got some work to do. He wants to stay in that top 3 and the running for the King Kakili Trophy. Now he's running 7 here in this 3rd round. And we've seen this before all season long, actually.
Yeah.
He's always he's been in the middle of the pack quite often.
Yeah.
And then he'll, hit this 3rd round dive and boom, he's right back in the top 3 and then he's on the podium.
He's such a good competitor in the sense that he knows how to reset, right? He goes, okay, there's a bit of a slip up. He just kind of looks at it sort of objectively, right? Doesn't hold on to it emotionally. He's like, okay, that was then. That's done.
Yeah.
I'm going forwards. And going forwards is what he does well. But not on this particular dive. Actually, the rotation will be back 4 somersaults with 3 twists in the pike position. High DD. DD meaning degree of difficulty, 5.7. You'll need, say, more than 6.5s to move into the lead. He'll be looking to get 8s to 9s. That's what he really wants to do, to climb his way back up to see if he can hit the podium again.
The Romanian shark. Popovic, scrappy in the air, drills the landing into the Mediterranean. So Popovic, there we have it. We talked about it earlier, Joey. Always his round 3 dive. He busts out something big and just moves up the rankings. He's so consistent and smart when it comes to this. You have to have that consistency, Joey, just like 4 shots drained from the 3-point line in basketball or 4 straight aces in a tennis match. You got to be consistent.
Now I'm going to call this the Costa sneaky short rip. Right, so he's just looking at the judges here.
Staring him down.
Yeah,
like a
really
shark.
Powerful takeoff into the pike here. Now just watch here. Now he disappears. He's definitely short through the water, but he managed to sort of pull it through, so it's a short rip, right? So sometimes when you land short like that, you don't get much of a splash. So nice little sneaky maneuver there, just as he pulls through the water. He just rounds himself through the water to bring down the splash. Very, very accurate, very precise. So it's short here, right? But then just must have pulled his feet through the water to help bring that splash down. But there will be some deductions for that angle on the entry.
Yeah, you're right. He'll get a 6 in there, so he'll toss the 6 and a 7.5. The high and the low. Sam Dorman, Olympic silver medal winner, amongst the lineup of judges down there. So 271.35. So even with the low scores, Joey, you talked about getting affected because of some of the form there, but Popovic still moves into the lead with a 271.35. But I was, can imagine, he probably wanted to have a higher score.
Yeah.
Have a little bit more padding because he knows who's to drop. So we have 5 divers left. Fedotov, Prigorov, Heslop. As you can see, still to come now. Liechtenstein and Barnaba.
So Nikita Fedotov here. And in my opinion, this is a really hard dive. I feel like actually the dive is worth a little bit more in terms of degree of difficulty, 4.9. So this is kind of the same dive as Jonathan Predez. He did back triple, triple. Now he's doing reverse triple, triple. But when you do this dive, you have to move forwards, but then rotate backwards. If you do not get the takeoff just right, you're in trouble. When I mean trouble, you're going to have trouble with the rotation to finish the dive. It's all about the takeoff on this one.
It's kind of like golfing, right? Once you hit the golf ball, it's going to go where it wants to.
Yeah.
You can't.
You're kind of committed. You're like, well, you got to work with what you got.
Off the tee is important. The takeoff, a bit of a splash on that for Fedotov.
Yeah. I mean, everybody who rotates back in towards the ocean, looking out towards the ocean, almost everybody seems to be over-rotating. I would say 80% of the divers. It's been a really interesting phenomenon at this particular tour stop. Here's the gainer, triple, triple, gainer meaning reverse. So hard to get that rotation going. As you could actually see at the end there, his arms were just starting to travel out away from his body on the entry. Maybe he felt like he was rotating too fast. Let's have a close look here. That's where the dive gets really heavy and you have to work hard. Looking at the entry here. Yeah, one arm, that right arm just started to jut out. So he was feeling like he was rotating a little bit too quickly, meaning that he actually got a good takeoff and got the rotation going there. It's kind of interesting. You don't want to put your arms above your head, so that's a max score of 5.5, but he was on the limit right there.
Fedotov with a 46, so low score on that. Out in the first 3 rounds together, you see in the bottom left, 198.95. So 7th place for Fedotov. Off a regroup before tomorrow's round 4. A few questions asked. Once again, we are live, YouTube, in the chat room. Joey and I are checking it out. Seeing all the questions. People still asking about the height of the platforms, Joey. Just a reminder, the men's platform, which we're watching right now, you see up there, 27 meters, 90 feet. That's where Alexei Prigorov stands. The one below it, the women's platform, 21 meters, 70 feet off the water. Combine that with a few waves, combine that with the sun going down and in your eyes and the glare. Welcome to Red Bull Cliff Dive.
Yep. So back 4 somersaults, 2 twists for Prigorov, 5.1 degree of difficulty.
Prigorov. Oh. His good friend Nikita Fedotov digs it.
And some of the people tune in and say, wow, the sound is crazy when they hit the water. And it is. And when you're on site, sometimes you hear this boom as they hit the water. Their feet are flat. It echoes through the cliff diving auditorium, so to speak. Particularly when the feet are really flat, you hear that slap of the water. Whoa, he says. Bit of a caveman response. Okay, there's the takeoff. Working hard on the dive. But very clean through the water for Alexei Prigorov. He badly needs a good result, so it's definitely been an up and down season for him. He has made the podium before, so we know he's capable of great diving. Beautiful shot as he hits the water there. Traveling down around about 4 meters. That's around about 12 feet. Water depth here is 8 meters. But Alexei Prigorov obviously comes from an excellent caliber of diving, which really helps him with the sport of cliff diving.
Say 8 meters is 26 feet. Joey, what does that mean in terms of diving? Like, is that good? Is it perfect? What's the lowest you can dive into?
Look, 6 meters is
6
really
meters.
the minimum.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it in 5, but 6 meters is preferable. And position for Alexei Prigorov.
277.95. So Prigorov taking over the lead. So he will come into the fourth round in the top 4. Maybe even better, depending on the next 3 divers, including Aiden Heslop, the World Series leader at the moment. Tied for the highest DD in this round, Joey.
And pretty interesting to watch this particular dive right after Alexei Prigorov's. Alexei was doing back 4 somersaults, 2 twists. Now Aiden's adding a twist, right? So he's going up to 5.7 degree of difficulty with that particular dive in comparison to 5.1. As I was saying earlier, the more somersaults and twists you do, the higher the tariff. This is a great example of that. Needs, I'd say, 7s and 7.5s from the judges to move into the lead. He can do that.
Oh, come on.
Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, yeah. What's going through my mind now, Joey, is this race for the King Ka-Keeley Trophy.
Right.
You know, again, if you just joined us, there's 3 guys in contention. It's never been this tight since the beginning in 2009.
No,
this
not
World
at all.
Series began. And Aiden Heslop leads the way. James Lichtenstein is in the mix. Konstantin Popovich. It's going to come down to Sydney, Australia. But a win here will give you that advantage.
And it's all about dive by dive, right? So from now on, it's only 5 more dives in total to see who will be crowned the King Ka-Keeley champion,
good
right?
way to break it down, yeah. 5
okay,
more dives.
so this is dive number 3 at this event. Tomorrow will be round number 4, and that's it. It's just 4 more rounds. So every single dive is crucial at this point in the series. But it all comes down to what the judges think. There's the A-OK sign. But do the judges think it's A-OK? Yeah, here we go.
A-OK for Aiden. He'll toss out an 8.5 and then 7.5. Keep the remaining 3 multiplied by his high degree of difficulty, that 5.7, so 136. 295.20 is the roll-up after adding the first 3 rounds together. That's what he will carry into the 4th round. So Heslop now putting pressure on the next 2 divers. James Lichtenstein of the United States, followed by Andrea Barnaba, who's never seen the podium before. He is the top seed after round number 2.
James just guiding the safety divers right now. So another big dive, back arm stand, 4.5 somersaults. So James, he needs 8.5s from the judges as the heart rate rises and the tension rises for the dive.
I mean, if you hanging out with this guy, he's got a pretty low, he's pretty mellow.
He's pretty cool and calm, man, and that's what you need to be in this sport. Cool, calm, and collected.
152 beats per minute compared to Gavanch Gur's 189 earlier. Yo, James Lichtenstein, a bit of heavy on that landing, Joey, as you've always said. The bigger splash. We'll see what that and how that unfolds with the judges.
But again, as a reminder, they still look at the takeoff, the position in the air. There was a slight over-rotation or a punch landing. And actually, in real time, it's impressive. You can hear all the noises from the athletes when they take off. You can hear that, those pushes, that effort from the platform. Just looking at the entry, just stayed a little hunched on entry, right? Just stayed a little rounded, yeah? So didn't quite lift into that straight position. He's got fantastic aerial awareness. That's what he's known for. Just looking closely at the entry here. You can just see him just adjusting, just staying a little bit, just needed to lift really sharp and really fast at the end to find that vertical point. It's really difficult to do that when it comes up so quick at those speeds of 85 kilometers per hour. This is crunch time for James Lichtenstein, one of the top 3 contenders in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series.
Okay, so James will keep 3 7s, multiply by that 5.4 DD, so 275.60. So Lichtenstein will have to step it up in round number 4. We'll We see that Quint.
Tomorrow.
He'll do tomorrow, and that all go round 4, by the way, does go down tomorrow. So it's Heslop, Prigorov, Liechtenstein. So Heslop in a good position. How about this guy?
Yeah, man.
Andrea Barnaba, okay, making his 4th ever appearance on the World Series. His first start was in 2022. The second lowest DD in the round. Can he even take the lead at this point, Joey?
And he can. So look at the screen right there. So average needed. Well, for second, 8.9. Sorry, excuse me. So no, he can't at the moment.
No,
Just because the DD is 4.2, and that was like, for example, in comparison to James's 5.4, and that's where the difference is made up.
So Barnaba, what a dive by the 20-year-old Italian. Right in the mix, not even getting intimidated by the big names. And again, may not be able to pull into the top spot, but if he's in the top 3 going into the 4th and final round, what does he have in the bag of tricks for round number 4, Joey, is the big question.
Well, it's a front quite half, so he doesn't have a huge dive, but I mean, the question that I've got in my mind right now is like, okay, you can see how well he can execute these dives. He is awesome. He's already scored a 10 in this competition. What happens when he comes in with high degree of difficulty next year? Watch out.
Yeah, watch it, exactly.
Like him, Jalotl, the new guard coming up the ranks. It's going to be crazy, man. Beautiful position.
Comes got that Gary Hunt style right there.
I don't know about that. I think he's got a little bit of Italian Barnaba style. I think he's got his own kind of thing going on.
All right.
Yeah. He's dope, man. I love it.
All right, cool. Look,
oh my God!
2 more 10s.
Yes.
Get out. Stop it. Barnaba with 3 10s today. Come on.
It's a little deceiving when you're watching the dive, right? Like with the vision, with the glare and stuff, you can't quite see the entry. Judge is standing in that, or sitting in that perfect side position. No way. Third dive getting a 10.
That's exactly what he needed to do. Now he's in second with a 288.10.
Yeah.
Going into the 4th round. Looking for a podium spot.
This is insane.
Wow. Loving it.
The twists and turns. The tails of Red Bull cliff diving. This is awesome. Scored a 10, I believe it was in Italy. 10 in the previous round. 2 10s in this round. Go Andrea Barnaba.
I was reading his bio. He said he loves to party.
Yeah.
Right now he's
maybe parties the night before, and maybe it works. I don't know.
Loves the party. He might be tomorrow if he jumps onto the podium, but it's Heslop. Right now, the World Series leader in terms of points, cranking away, looking to win his first King Kakili trophy if he keeps up the good work. Barnaba in second. Prigorov, how about that?
Yeah.
He's in 3rd, so what an outstanding men's 3rd round.
And Costa was in 5th there as well, so 271. Not too far away, so it's still pretty tightly packed with that sort of 5th to kind of, 3rd sort of ratio there.
Let's hear from Andrea Barnaba, who's sitting in 2nd. He's with Frosty. Guys.
All right, Andrea, incredible dives in round 2 and 3. You had 2 10s in your last dive, another 10 in round 2. What's pumping you up right now, man? You're on fire.
I don't know. I'm just tired after the competition in Bahrain. I'm a little tired. I feel every dive into my body, but I try to do my best, and that's work.
Okay, so you're telling me you got to be tired to do excellent. I'm going to have to go work myself out before I do that. That's amazing. Well, I think I've heard from some of the coaches, some of the experts, that actually your coaches have had you reeled in, like doing slightly easier dives to focus on technique. It seems like that's working. What do you think?
Yeah, it seems like it's working. Yeah, I'm doing these dives for like 1.5 years, but I'm trying to improve every time my dives, and it's getting better. So let's keep going, and the next year I'm gonna do new dives and hope it works like this.
Well, obviously, it's going amazing so far. What can we expect from you in round 4? Are you going to turn it up even more?
I don't know. I'm trying my best. Tonight I will sleep early because I'm so tired. But
Well, if you do well when you're tired, maybe you shouldn't sleep tonight. Just stay up all night, party, and then show up and kill it, or at least for the after party.
Let's go.
All right, well, thanks. Back to you guys.
Thank you.
Wise words from Frosty there. Wise word. That's it. Just no sleep. Whatever he's doing is working. That's it. Just be sleep deprived.
He's only 20 years old, but what an outstanding day for Andrea Barnaba, the 20-year-old, putting it down and putting pressure on the biggest name, sitting in second behind Aiden Heslop. Joey, it is going to be a killer round 4 tomorrow, especially on the men's side with these 3 that are going head-to-head for the King Kakili Trophy.
Absolutely, and I've just got one question for Andrea Barnaba. I want to know what dives you're going to do next year. I'm already excited for 2025, that's for sure. But look, tomorrow is going to be really exciting to see how things are going to shape up. Like James slipping up there a little bit and Costa back in the ranks, Aiden doing well. But look, this is going to be absolutely fascinating coming to round 4 tomorrow.
All right, folks, Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series Finals from Antalya, Turkey, round 4 tomorrow. It goes down on 1500 Central European Time, 6 a.m. Pacific Time here in the United States on the East Coast, of course, 9 a.m. live on Red Bull TV, Facebook, TikTok, everything, all the platforms, all the good stuff. Go to redbullcliffdiving.com for where to watch it and when. But for now, until tomorrow in the 4th round, Trace Worthington, Joey Zuber, and of course, Frosty on the ground. Take it easy, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, round 4.